Thank you. I'll give you 2 seconds to get back there. I'd like to call to order the special city council meeting of July 8th. It's 5:30 p.m. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Mayor Ronnie Felder.
Here.
Chairperson Julia Botel.
Here.
Chair Pro Tem Douglas Lawson.
Here.
Councilperson Chodrick McCoy.
Here.
Councilperson Shirley Lanier. Councilperson Kashamba Miller Anderson. City Manager Jonathan Evans.
Present.
City Clerk Claudine Anthony is present. City Attorney Don Wynn. Here. You may proceed.
Thank you. I'd like to have a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilman Lawson.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Any member of the public wishing to comment publicly on any matter, including items on the agenda, shall submit their comments by email to City Clerk Claudine Anthony at publiccomments@rivierabeach.org. The email shall contain the applicable agenda item numbers along with the precise wording to be read into the record. Explicit language will not be read. Emails without applicable agenda item numbers will be read under the general public comment section. Be advised, public comments will be accepted for each applicable item in the general public comment section until closure is announced by the chairperson or the city clerk. All email addresses and submitted comments are and will be public record. The city clerk or designee will read public comments into the record at the appropriate time for no more than 3 minutes unless the time limit is reduced by a vote of the city council based on the voluminous nature of the number of public comments received. If you have any questions, please contact the city clerk's office at 561-845-4090 or email crobinson@rivierabeach.org. I think given the number of comments that we have, it might be appropriate, and I'll rely on our clerk and our attorney to give us some advice. It might be appropriate to limit public comments to no more than 1 minute each. Ms. Nguyen?
It's the discretion of council.
Thank you.
You all can decide that, yes.
If someone wishes to make a motion, indicating that public comments would not exceed 1 minute.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
How many do we have?
Last count, I knew we were over 150. Madam Clerk, do you have a count on the public comments?
Madam Chair, we're at approximately 200 public comments for this item.
Thank you. Mr. McCoy, did you want to make a motion?
Yes, ma'am. I move
Thank
that we limit public comments to 1 minute.
Mr. Lawson, would you care to second that?
So, Madam Chair, yes, I'll second the request. But I just had a question for the council before we move forward with that.
Go ahead, you can ask it now.
Thank you. The number of comments, we have 210 comments, which would take us at 3 minutes apiece if everyone used the entire 3 minutes to just over 10 hours in public comment, which I don't think we're going to utilize that much time because a lot of the public comments, from my understanding, are not that lengthy. But I do know that a few public comments are a little bit longer in nature. And I wanted to know how could we address that, because I know we can't be biased in regards to the comments, but a majority of them are going to take anywhere between 20 and 30 seconds because they're one-liners. But I don't want to limit the comments of any resident that may want to speak a little bit more elaborately. That's my only concern, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Lawson. Madam Clerk, I think, as I recall, when I listened to public comments during the planning and zoning meeting, most of them were under 3 minutes. Would you have any sense of whether most of them are under 1 minute? Madam Clerk?
Trying to take a glance. We didn't really, Madam Chair, we did not really look at the content as far as the length of the comments. From what I can see from the stack that I do have, because we do have them separated in 3 stacks, what I'm looking at right now, majority of them are one-liners,
Okay,
but we do have some that have attachments, and the attachment is a letter that they want read into the record. And the other ones are like 2 paragraphs. So
so Ms. Nguyen, do you have any advice for us on that? Is it, we make a blanket 1 minute or under, and that's it, or I see you nodding. Okay, then I
Yes.
think we'll accept Mr. McCoy's motion and Mr. Lawson's second. And Madam Clerk, could you call the roll, please?
Councilperson McCoy,
Yes.
Pro Tem Lawson,
He said yes. The lip reader in me says, he said yes. Thank you.
Chair Botel,
Yes.
unanimous
So
vote.
I think we decided that we would listen to the public comments first and then have the presentation by staff and then have a discussion by council. I don't see any other council members here, so I think let's begin with public comments, Madam Clerk.
Madam Chair, you do have your other items on the agenda that you need to go through, like the
Oh,
adoption of.
I'm sorry, we do need to adopt the agenda. I can just think so obsessed with this one item. Would someone care to make a motion to adopt the agenda?
Move to adopt the agenda.
Madam
Second,
Chair,
Yes.
did
Ms.
you,
Nguyen.
Madam Clerk, did the chair go through additions, deletions, disclosures, all of that prior to adoption
No.
of the agenda? Okay.
So just, did anybody have any additions, deletions, or disclosures? Anybody have from either the mayor or council? No, okay. So could we had a motion to adopt the agenda.
Madam Chair,
Councilperson
Madam Clerk.
uh,
Yes, Mr. Lawson.
Madam Chair, disclosure, just I've had numerous conversations with residents, throughout Riviera Beach in reference to this article. So I just want to make sure that was on the record as well.
Thank you. I have as well. I figure all of us have at this point.
All of us.
I'm sure. Mr.
Pretty
McCoy,
sure.
have you also had conversations with people about it?
Actually, I guess they knew not to ask me because I can't.
All right then. Okay, so please call the roll, Madam Clerk. On
Councilperson
adopting the
McCoy.
agenda.
Councilperson McCoy,
Yes.
Pro Tem Lawson,
Yes,
Chair Botel,
Yes,
unanimous vote.
thank you. And now we can have those 210 public comments.
Madam Chair, prior to reading the public comments, I need to read the heading of the ordinance into the record.
Okay. Oh, do we also have to make a motion and then we can have the public comments? We probably,
That
Dawn
doesn't
says no.
require a motion.
okay. Go ahead, Madam Clerk, you can read the ordinance.
Ordinance number 4147, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Riviera Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, amending Chapter 31 of the city's Code of Ordinances entitled Zoning, Article 5, District, entitled SP, Special Preservation. I skipped a whole line. Let me start this over again. Ordinance number 4147, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Riviera Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, amending Chapter 31 of the city's Code of Ordinances entitled Zoning, Article 5, entitled District Regulations by creating a new zoning district entitled SP, Special Preservation District, coinciding with the city's comprehensive plan, future land use element for special preservation areas, and amending Chapter 31, Article 5, Division 1, entitled generally Section 31-96, designation of district by adding reference to the SP, Special Preservation District, and amending Chapter 31, Article 5, Division 1, generally Section 31-97, entitled Official Zoning Map and Zoning District Boundaries by amending the city's zoning map by assigning a Special Preservation Zoning District designation to any and all land area currently having a Special Preservation Future Land Use designation according to the city's comprehensive plan and future land use map in order to provide consistency between the city's future land use map and zoning map, which will impact real property or portions thereof, located north of Pine Point Road and west of North Ocean Drive in the city of Riviera Beach, provided for severability and conflicts, provided for codification, and provided for an effective date. Madam Chair, we do have public comment cards on this item. The acceptance of public comments on this item is now closed.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. You can read the public comments now. Thank you.
Madam Chair, prior to going into public comments, we do need a motion.
Oh, I thought Ms. Nguyen said we didn't really need a motion.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood you. I thought you meant a motion to take public comment before your
Oh,
actual
no,
discussion.
I'm sorry.
But yes,
Okay.
you need
Would-
a motion in a second.
Thank you.
So
Would
moved.
wanna- Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. I'm just so anxious to get to the public comments. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
You're welcome, Madam Chair. Our first public comment comes from Susan Bennett. Email address sbennett10h@icloud.com. I support the creation of the Special Preservation District, which is in line with the city's comprehensive plan. Our next public comment comes from Rita Baraccio. Email address baraccio@hotmail.com. Dear Council, I support the creation of the Special Preservation District for Singer Island's intercoastal waters to be included with the city's comprehensive plan. Sincerely, Rita Baraccio, Condado Inc. of Singer Island. Our next public comment is from Elvira Baraccio. Email address ebaraccio@gmail.com. Dear Council, I support the creation of the Special Preservation District for Singer Island's intercoastal waters to be included with the city's comprehensive plan. Sincerely, Pascal and Elvira Baraccio, Condado Inc. of Singer Island. Our next public comment comes from Tim Clemens. The email address is tclemens7@gmail.com. Riviera Beach City Council, my name is Tim Clemens. Our family has a condominium on Singer Island in the small Condado community. We would like read into the public comments at the next city council meeting, which is regarding this item, that we are against the Lozman and Taylor developments and strongly support the creation of the Special Preservation District. Thank you, Tim Clemens, 5060 North Ocean Drive, Unit 204, Riviera Beach. The next public comment comes from Larry Clemens. Email address lchookshot@gmail.com. Riviera Beach City Council, my name is Larry Clemens. I own a condominium at 5060 North Ocean Drive, Unit 204 on Singer Island in the Condado community. Please read into the public comments at the next city council meeting that I am strongly against any and all of the proposed floating communities and strongly support the creation of the Special Preservation District. Thank you, Larry
Second.
Clemens.
Please let the
50.
record show that Councilperson Lanier and Councilwoman Miller Anderson are on the dais. Thank you. Sorry for interrupting.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Larry Clemens, 5060 North Ocean Drive, Unit 204, Riviera Beach. Our next public comment comes from Jeff Hammerer. Email address jphammerer@aol.com. Please read into the June 17th zoning board meeting. I fully support the creation of the Special Preservation District to coincide with the City of Riviera Beach, Florida Comprehensive Plan. Jeffrey P. Hammerer, 5060 North Ocean Drive, Riviera Beach.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. McCoy.
this gentleman referenced the 17th of June Planning and Zoning Board meeting. Is it possible that public comments may have gotten intermingled because he clearly said Planning and Zoning Board meeting?
Madam Chair, if I may, in response to Mr. McCoy's request, we began receiving comments regarding this item as early as June 1st. The item that said June 17th, P&Z meeting, there was no P&Z meeting on June 17th. That was a city council meeting in which this item originally appeared on.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Our next public comment is Nita Dry. Email address nitadry1@aol.com. I support the creation of the Special Preservation District to coincide with the city's comprehensive plan. Nita Dry, Todd Dry, Chandler Dry, Brandon Dry, Sterling Lee. Our next public comment comes from Libby Ryan. Email address libco129@att.net. My husband and I have owned property on Singer Island since 2008. His father first bought a condominium in this city in 1978. It has been exciting to see the enthusiasm of Riviera Beach residents having a voice in continued development and beautification of the city. Many residents and visitors have commented how much nicer the city is than it was years ago. More than ever, it's important to continue the improvement and preservation of all aspects of the city's footprint. The coastal ecosystem of Riviera Beach is important to the entire city for numerous reasons. First of all, coastal ecosystems are habitats that are spawning grounds for many different species. They are also the home to numerous kinds of plants. Like any ecosystem, when one aspect is damaged, everything else is affected. Pollution of our coastal environment limits the ability for residents to use beaches for economic, recreational, and aesthetic purposes. Pollution degrades and destroys the unique beach habitat. Madam Chair, the time is up for the reading of that public comment. The next public comment comes from Thomas W. Mayers. Email address landsendmarina@mac.com. Too many people, not enough nature. Protect your property values by protecting the nature that gives you a healthy, environmentally sound place to live. Tom Mayers, Apartment 3, 7250 Gulf of Mexico Drive, Longboat Key, Florida. Next public comment, Stephen Nadell. Email address spnadell@gmail.com. Please read my comments into the record for the June 17th meeting. I support the creation of the Special Preservation District to coincide with the city's comprehensive plan. Thank you, Stephen Nadell.
So okay, so
Go ahead, Mr. McCoy.
again, these people are referencing the June 17th meeting. If by some chance they were mistaken in thinking that the P&Z meeting was on June 17th, how does that default to now be placed on as a public comment for the June, even if you take the last meeting we had, which would have been?
Madam Chair, at the June 17th meeting, it was discussed by the board whether or not to take the comments that were submitted for that item, for that meeting, whether they would be read into the record for this meeting, and the board said yes.
Thank you. Ms. Nguyen, did you want to say something about that? No, okay. Mr. McCoy, does that answer your issue? Mr. McCoy, does that answer your issue? We're not hearing you.
I'm getting a lot of feedback. I'm not sure if it's on my end.
Well, it's on your end, Mr. McCoy, because it only comes on when you turn your mic on. Would you continue, Madam Clerk, please?
Joseph Bada, email address jabada@icloud.com. For the public record of Riviera Beach, I support the creation of the Special Preservation District to align with the city's revised comprehensive plan. Respectfully, Joseph and Regina Bada, residents, Singer Island, Riviera Beach, Florida. Our next public comment is from Randy Bradley. Email address rhbradley@comcast.net. I support the creation of the Special Preservation District to coincide with the city's comprehensive plan. Thank you, Ralph Bradley, 5080 North Ocean Drive, 9C, Riviera Beach, Florida. Our next public comment comes from LK. Email address linklk@aol.com. Please read into the record at the June 17th City Council meeting. We strongly support the creation of a Special Preservation District to coincide with the city's comprehensive plan. Thank you, Linda K. Link, John F. Duvall, 1090 Morse Boulevard, Riviera Beach. Our next public comment comes from Marie Saylor. Email address marie.saylor@tramo.com. We support the creation of the Special Preservation District to coincide with the city's comprehensive plan. We ask that our comments be read into the June 17th meeting. Michael and Marie Crocito, 5280 North Ocean Drive, Senior Island. Madam Chair, I would like to apologize to the residents if I butcher their name. Our next public comment comes from Merle Nato. Email address harbordale@yahoo.com. Please enter for the public record my support for the creation of the Special Preservation District to coincide with the city's comprehensive plan. Thank you, Merle Nato, 5550 North Ocean Drive, Riviera Beach. Our next comment comes from rnow@panics.com. Please enter it in the public record my support for the creation of a Special Preservation District to coincide with the city's comprehensive plan. Sincerely, David Arnow, 5550 North Ocean Drive, Riviera Beach. Our next public comment comes from Lee Innocenti. I support the Special Preservation Zone and request my comment be read into the June 17th meeting. Please don't let Ali, Mann, and Taylor tear up our coastline on North Ocean Drive. Thank you. Sincerely, Lee Innocenti, 3800 North Ocean Drive. Our next public comment comes from Carol Bruce. Email address carolbruce@aol.com. Please enter for the public record our support for the creation of the Special Preservation District to coincide with the city's comprehensive plan. Thank you, Carol and Thomas Bruce, 5550 North Ocean Drive, Riviera Beach. Our next public comment comes from Jolene Roberts. Email address thetriplej@cox.net. Councilpersons, I am familiar with the issues along the Singer Island, North Ocean Drive. I support the Special Preservation Zone and request my comment be read into the June 17th meeting. Thank you for your help in solving this issue for our island. Jolene Roberts, 3800 North Ocean Drive, Singer Island. Our next public comment comes from N. Lawler. Email address nalawler@comcast.net. Riviera Beach Council members, I support the creation of the Special Preservation District to coincide with the city's comprehensive plan. Please read this at the June 17th meeting. Regards, Nicholas Lawler, 3000 North Ocean Drive, apartment 28G, Riviera Beach. Our next public comment comes from Ann Krogolski and the email address is akkrog@hotmail.com. We support the Special Preservation Zone and request our comments be read into the June 17th meeting. Thank you for your help. Ken and Ann Progolski, 3800 North Ocean Drive. Our next public comment comes from JK. Email address jklaser2@gmail.com. I support the Special Preservation Zone and request my comment be read into the June 17th meeting. Thank you, John Kong. Our next public comment comes from CG. Email address Claire Granowitz@yahoo.com. Please read my comments at the June 17th meeting. I support the creation of the Special Preservation District to coincide with the city's comprehensive plan. I hope you will make it a reality. Thank you, Claire Granowitz. Our next comment comes from Hemant Manthia. Email address manthia@aol.com. I am in full support of the Special Preservation Zone and request my comment be read into the June 17th meeting. Sincerely, Hammond and Kasum Manthia, 3920 North Ocean Drive, Riviera Beach. The next public comment comes from Don Diaria. Email address donmdiaria@gmail.com. Please, please, please vote yes to create a Special Conservation District, north of Pine Point Road and west of North Ocean Drive in Riviera Beach, Florida. Don Diaria, resident. The next public comment comes from Fred Goldberg. Email address drfreddieG@aol.com. I support the creation of the Special Preservation District to coincide with the city's comprehensive plan. Fred Goldberg, Tierra. Our next comment comes from Denise Rivas. Email address denise.rivas@gmail.com. I support the Special Preservation Zone and request my comment be read into the June 17th meeting. Denise Rivas, 3800 North Ocean Drive, apartment 651, Senior Island. Our next public comment comes from Kimberly LeCompte. Email address KimberlyBL2000@aol.com. I am in support of the Senior Island Preservation Zone. Sincerely, Kimberly LeCompte. Our next public comment comes from email address fcw55@aol.com. To whom it may concern, as a resident of Singer Island, I support the Special Preservation Zone. I would appreciate your support also. Thank you for your consideration. Please read my comments. End of the record at the June 17th meeting. Again, thank you, Frank Watson. Our next public comment comes from Gary Kurtzbar. Email address love15787@comcast.net. I support the creation of the Special Preservation District to coincide with the city's comprehensive plan. Please add my support at the June meeting. Sincerely, Gary Kurtzbar. Our next email public comment comes from Ben Allen. Email address bfa021465@gmail.com. My name is Ben Allen, and I am a resident of Senior Island at 3800 North Ocean Drive. I want to unambiguously communicate my support for the proposed preservation zone and would like my support included in the record. Best, Ben Allen. Our next public comment comes from Jane Broyles. Email address jane@burksquare.com. I support the Special Preservation Zone and request my comment be read into the minutes on the June 17th meeting. Respectfully, Jane and Roy Smith, 3800 North Ocean Drive. Our next public comment comes from Nina. Email address nagarwal100@gmail.com. To whom it may concern, I support the Special Preservation Zone and request my comment be read into the June 17th meeting. Nina Agarwal, 3800 North Ocean Drive, Singer Island. Our next public comment comes from Gary Landau. Email address glandau@gmail.com. As a permanent full-time resident of Singer Island, I strongly support approval of the Special Preservation Zoning Ordinance. Gary Landau. Our next public comment comes from Tom Refuse. Email address trdaydream2@aol.com. Please read this letter of support by Mary and Town Refuse of Aquarius Condominium of Singer Island. Wetlands occupy a special position in restoration ecology because they have been affected by so many disturbances and because they fall under regulations that require mitigation of future damage. Their function is providing habitats for fish, birds, and other wildlife that is contributing to the maintenance of biodiversity that must be protected. Please vote to support the creation of the Special Preservation Zone. Our next public comment comes from Arlene Stroker. Email address cviews1@comcast.net. Good afternoon, all. Would you please read it to the record for June 17th meeting? We support the creation of the Special Preservation District to coincide with the city's comprehensive plan. Best regards, Mr. and Mrs. Gilbert Stroker, Singer Island resident. Our next public comment comes from Clara Cap. Email address claracap.4@gmail.com. To whom it may concern, I'm writing in support of the creation of the Special Preservation Zoning Ordinance to coincide with the city's comprehensive plan. Clara Capiola, 5420 North Ocean Drive, number 2205, Singer Island. Our next public comment comes from Pamela Popas. Email address pamela.popas@att.net. I support the special preservation zone and request my comment to be read into the June 17th meeting. Pamela Popas. Our next public comment comes from Tara Hegarty. Email address ta719@comcast.net. Please enter for the public record my support for the creation of the Special Preservation District to coincide with the city's comprehensive plan. Tara Hegarty, 5550 North Ocean Drive, 2C, Riviera Beach. Our next public comment comes from Rita Hill. Email address manor1805@aol.com. Dear council members, I would like to voice my opinion with regard to the special preservation zoning ordinance. I ask that you take this matter into very serious consideration and vote in a positive manner to pass it. Thank you, Rita Hill, Singer Island resident. Madam Chair, I also want to advise the board that we did our very best to take out any duplicates. However, things started looking the same, so we may have left some in there. Our next public comment comes from Rachel Shalman. The email address is rachel.shalman@rogers.com. I would like my support note to be read in the June 17th first vote meeting. I have seen dolphins, blue herons, and many more wildlife in the Singer Island Lagoon. It is crucial to protect the beautiful lagoon from development. I fully support the special preservation zoning in the lagoon. Rachel Shalman, 5420 North Ocean Drive, number 1705, Singer Island. Our next public comment, and I'm going to mess up this name, Bahag Karachadani. Email address is bkaramch@gmail.com. As residents, we support the creation and adoption of the Special Preservation District to coincide with the city's comprehensive plan. Our next public comment comes from Yaram Shalman. Email address yaram.shalman@gmail.com. Please read into the record for the June 17th meeting. The wetlands of Singer Island are a unique environment which should be preserved for the generations to come. I am a unit owner in Singer Island and a taxpayer, and I support the creation of the Special Preservation District to coincide with the city's comprehensive plan. Thank you. Best regards, Yaram Shalman. Our next public comment comes from The Gypsy. The email address is thegypsy@aol.com. I support the Special Preservation Zoning Ordinance. All of us living on both sides of Lake Worth Lagoon have worked for years to keep those areas pristine and natural. Diane Riley, 5420 North Ocean Drive, apartment 204, Riviera Beach. Our next public comment comes from Angela Danino. Email address angela.danino@yahoo.com. Good morning. I live at 4200 North Ocean Drive in Côte d'Azur. I have noticed signs of floating homes, destruction of mangroves, and laying of sand within the past weeks and months. I observed also what looks like the beginnings of a structure with dock space. As an avid outdoor person and angler, I am appalled that building on the lagoon would even be considered and destruction of mangroves by chainsaw allowed. It is imminent that a stop be put to this and to protect the lagoon for future generations and wildlife. Regards, concerned resident Angela Danino. Our next public comment comes from Craig White. Email address whitecraigm@gmail.com. We request the following message of support for the creation, the Special Preservation District for the Lake Worth Lagoon be read into the record. We live in Canamara condominium on Singer Island at 5420 North Ocean Drive in a unit that faces Lake Worth Lagoon. Thank you for removing the floating houseboat that was there. We were saddened every time we looked out our window and saw how it marred the natural beauty of the lagoon. We watch the sunset on the lagoon every evening and especially enjoy watching the migratory birds that make the lagoon their homes during the winter. We strongly support the effort to prevent the presence of unsightly, ecologically damaging structures to ever be built on this naturally beautiful lagoon. Thank you, Craig and Raina White, 5420 North Ocean Drive, Unit 905, Senior Island. Our next public comment comes from John Lightington. Email address waveland@comcast.net. Gentle persons, please enter for the public record our support for the creation of the Special Preservation District to coincide with the city's comprehensive plan. Thank you. John and Mary Beth Liddington, 3600 North Ocean Drive, number 222. Our next public comment comes from Daria Taylor. Daria.taylor1@gmail.com. I support the Special Preservation Zone and request my comment be read to the June 17th meeting. Sincerely, Daria Taylor, 1252 3800 North Ocean Drive. Our next public comment comes from Elizabeth Diane Beeler. Email address dianabell1@aol.com. Hello, I am writing to please ask you to save the beautiful lagoon of Singer Island. No more development, please. The ecology and natural beauty need you to keep it safe. Please vote to save the lagoon. Elizabeth Beeler, 33404. Our next public comment comes from B Wall. Email address bfwall820@aol.com. Please read into the June 17th meeting's public comment. I, Bunny Wall, support the creation of the Special Preservation District to coincide with the city's comprehensive plan. Thank you. Bunny Wall, 3000 North Ocean Drive, number 33A, Riviera Beach. The next public comment comes from Peter Rosenfield. Email address peter@prcinco.co.uk. We visited Riviera Beach / Singer Island, has vacationers more than 10 years and love the lagoon / bay, ocean, and everything the area offered. In 2017, we purchased a condo to reside and have a special place to visit for our family for many years to come. We were very dismayed to hear about proposals to develop parts of the area and are very concerned that this will not just affect the natural beauty and marine life that habits the area, but long-term property values. Our family 100% support the creation of the Special Preservation District to coincide with the city's comprehensive plan. Thank you, Peter and Amanda Rosenfield family. 9D 5550 North Ocean Drive, Riviera Beach. Our next public comment comes from Mila Hart. Email address milahart@icloud.com. I fully support the Special Preservation Zone and request my comments be read into the June 17th meeting. Do not, the word not in all capital letters, destroy our North Ocean coast on Singer Island. Our next public comment comes from Michael Cedar. Email address cedarmichael@yahoo.com. I support, this email is in all caps. I support the creation of Special Preservation Zoning District to coincide with the city's comprehensive plan. Sincerely, Michael R. Cedar. Our next public comment comes from Tillman Black. Email address tillman22@icloud.com. Support the creation of the Special Preservation District to coincide with the city's comprehensive plan. The next public comment comes from Petra Noose, MD. Email address newsmd@yahoo.com. To the Singer Island, to the city of Singer Island and Singer Island community. I have been an owner on Singer Island since 1976 and enjoy the healthy natural areas, including the Singer Island Lagoon, as do so many non-residents who come to Singer Island to kayak, fish, paddleboard, boat watch the incredible sunsets, etc., with great joy. Please preserve out wetlands. Destroying the mangroves will destroy our beautiful ecosystem that was there long before Senior Island had residents. Nature was here first. We came second. Let us not be growth and power hungry and preserve what is left. Respectfully, Petra Noose, MD, owner and all year resident on Senior Island. Our next public comment comes from John Boyle. Email address jboyle246@gmail.com. To Riviera Beach Council, I support the special preservation zone and request my comments be read into the June 17th meeting. Sincerely, John Boyle, 3800 North Ocean Drive, Riviera Beach. Our next comment comes from Jeff. Email address jjsmith_WA@yahoo.com. I support the creation of the Special Preservation District. Keep the lagoon pristine. No development. J. Smith, 1240 Dolphin Road, Riviera Beach. The next public comment comes from Norm Adams. Email address nbasox@icloud.com. Please note that I and probably the overwhelming majority of Singer Island residents strongly support the creation of the Special Preservation District to coincide with the city's comprehensive plan. Thank you, Norm Adams, Riviera Beach. Our next public comment comes from Carol Friedman. Email address cfriedman7@icloud.com. I support the creation of the Special Preservation Area in keeping with the master plan of Riviera Beach. Carol Friedman, Canamera. Our next public comment comes from rdanielr@earthlink.net. Hello, I am a resident of Singer Island, and I am concerned about protecting the wetlands of Lake Worth Lagoon. I ask that you add my comments to the list of those to be read at the city meeting on 6/17/20. In all caps, I heartily support the creation of the Special District of Preservation to coincide with the city's comprehensive plan. Thank you, Ralph Daniel Ra, 5420 North Ocean Drive, Unit 2405, Riviera Beach. Our next public comment comes from Renee Lynch. Email address renee2468@gmail.com. Please approve the zoning to special preservation status to match the city's comprehensive plan. Thank you, Renee Lynch, 1111 Pine Point Road, Singer Island. Our next public comment comes from Ashley Lynch. Email address ashleyangel2468@gmail.com. Please approve the zoning to special preservation status to match the city's comprehensive plan. Thank you, Ashley Lynch, 1111 Pine Point Road, Singer Island. Our next public comment comes from Videos Lynch. Please approve the zoning to special preservation status to match the city's comprehensive plan. Thank you, Alyssa Lynch, 1111 Pine Point Road, Singer Island. The email address for this public comment is lynchalyssa10@gmail.com. Our next public comment comes from Mike Green. Email address mikeggreen@tmgtsvcs.com. Please approve the zoning to special preservation status to match the city's comprehensive plan. James Green, 1251 Pine Point Road, Riviera Beach. Our next public comment comes from Judy Holly. Please approve the zoning of the submerged land regarding special preservation to match the city's comprehensive plan. Sincerely, Dr. Eugene and Judy Holly. Our next public comment comes from Suka 3. Email address super3@comcast.net. To members of the Riviera Beach City Council, I am writing to implore the City Council to approve the zoning of the submerged land to match the city's comprehensive plan, which is designating special preservation. Thank you. Susan Travis Hoy, 1061 Pine Point Road, Riviera Beach. Again, Madam Chair, I apologize for butchering anybody's name. Our next public comment comes from Nicole Prokopets. Email address mprokopets@comcast.net. Please approve the zoning to special preservation status to match the city's comprehensive plan. Best regards, Nicole Prokopets, 1231 Pine Point Road, Riviera Beach. The following public comment comes from Prokopets@comcast.net. Please approve the zoning to special preservation status to match the city's comprehensive plan. Best regards, Michael Prokopets, 1231 Pine Point Road, Riviera Beach. The next public comment also comes from Prokopets@comcast.net. Please approve the zoning to special preservation status to match the city's comprehensive plan. Best regards, Quentin Prokopets, 1231 Pine Point Road, Riviera Beach. The next public comment comes from Prokopets@comcast.net. Please approve the zoning to special preservation status to match the city's comprehensive plan. Best regards, Lexa Prokopets, 1231 Pine Point Road, Riviera Beach. The following public comment comes from Renee Delgado, 1030 Pine Point Road, Singer Island. Please approve the zoning to special preservation status to match the city's comprehensive plan. Email address is rendel007@gmail.com. Our next public comment comes from the Grove Project. Email address thegroveproject2019@gmail.com. We would like to submit our public comment to be read into the record for the June 17th zoning board meeting. As an environmental awareness organization based here out of Riviera Beach, we wholeheartedly support the creation of the Special Preservation District to coincide with the city's comprehensive plan. It is of utmost importance that the zoning board vote to approve this special preservation zoning ordinance. Our next public comment comes from Paul Fotek. Email address fotekp@gmail.com. Regarding public comments, ordinance 4147. Please approve the zoning to special preservation status to match the city's comprehensive plan. Regards, Dr. Paul Fotek, 1181 Pine Point Road, Riviera Beach. The next public comment comes from email address jfvaldibijr@aol.com. Please approve the zoning to special preservation status to match the city's comprehensive plan. Jose F. Valdivia Jr., 1121 Pine Point Road, Riviera Beach. Our next public comment comes from Mike Blasdell. Email address blaze@mindharbor.com. Dear City of Riviera Beach City Council members and City Manager, I ask you please read this message into the meeting minutes for my public comment, and my sincere hope is that you will vote to support the creation of the Special Preservation District to coincide with the city's comprehensive plan and help us all work to safeguard and protect our area's vital aquatic assets. With thanks for your service in our community. Mike Blaisdell, 1150 Gulfstream Way, Riviera Beach. Our next public comment comes from Stephen Craig. Email address steve@scraig.us. Please approve the zoning to special preservation status to match the city's comprehensive plan. Stephen L. Craig, 1091 Pine Point Road, Riviera Beach. Our next public comment, Lucy Seaton. Email address, lucyseaton@yahoo.com. Dear City of Riviera Beach City Council members and City Manager, I ask that you please read this message into the meeting minutes for my public comment on for Ordinance 4147. And my sincere hope is that you will vote to support the creation of the Special Preservation District to coincide with the city's comprehensive plan and help us all work to safeguard and protect our area's vital aquatic assets. With thanks for your service in our community, Lucia Seaton. Our next public comment comes from madwire@aol.com. Please read at June 17 City Council meeting. I support the creation of the Special Preservation District to coincide with the city's comprehensive plan. Fred G. Wall, 3000 North Ocean Drive, Riviera Beach. Our next public comment comes from tpkos@netzero.net. Please approve the zoning to special preservation status to match the city's comprehensive plan. Thank you. Patty and Thomas. Cost 1161 Pine Point Road, Senior Island. Our next public comment comes from J. Epley, 2837, email address jepley@hotmail.com. I'm hoping that the City Council will see the enormous environmental importance of creating a special preservation district to keep the lagoon area healthy for future generations. Thank you for your work on this matter as well as everything else that comes before the council. Mary Jane Epley, 5070 North Ocean Drive. Our next public comment comes from Jamie Lehman, email address jamiel40@comcast.net. Dear City Council, when considering zoning changes to the Singer Island Lagoon, could you kindly consider the possible implementation of a city fish farm as noted in the link below? We need to help our community in meaningful long-term ways. Email, web address www.cityfarmfish.com. We are City Farm Fish. We are a highly motivated team looking to transform cities around the world with urban agriculture and aquaponics. Over the past 10 years, we have been working in horticulture, engineering, architecture, law, business development, fundraising, and marketing. Our next public comment comes from Nicholas Lama, email address nicholaslama@gmail.com. Please approve the zoning to special preservation status to match the city's comprehensive plan. Our next public comment comes from L. Smith, email address lena_Newcastle@yahoo.com. I support pristine, no development of the mangrove in Riviera Beach. Our next public comments from Sally O'Callaghan, email address sally.o'callaghan@gmail.com. Subject lagoon. The proposed development of the lagoon will result in increased traffic and reduced parking in an already saturated community. Development for development's sake will compromise the experience/value of legacy property owners. Additionally, the construction and associated vehicles will result in months of aggravated traffic patterns, the displacement of wildlife into residential areas, and disruption to businesses that have only recently begun to reopen. In short, this is neither the time nor the place for this proposed development that will most assuredly be a blight to the landscape that was a desired feature for those of us who chose to buy here and who will reluctantly be forced to relocate elsewhere. Our next public comment comes from James Ryan. Email address jdr@ryanlawgroup.net. Please read the attached comment during the public comment section of tonight's public hearing. Regards, James D. Ryan, Esquire, Florida Bar Board Certified in Business Litigation. Apparently, the city is being advised the law requires the city to rezone and take this private property. We all know the state and U.S. constitutions require a payment when a taking occurs. When the city adopted the future land use plan, it did so with a savings clause, and it relied on that in court to avoid having to buy the land at that time. Can the city lawfully reject the county's plan and keep the underlying RS5 zoning? If not, can the city adopt this new zoning with another savings clause, or can it look to the county for indemnification? What steps has the city taken to determine what this will cost and how it will be paid for? Isn't it true this cost will have to be added to our tax bills? Madam Chair, the time is up on that particular public comment. Our next public comment comes from Donna Pasatko. Email address missunico69@gmail.com. As residents of Singer Island, I am in favor of preserving the wetlands in the Singer Island Lagoon and support the creation of the Special Preservation District to coincide with the city's comprehensive plan. Kindly let our votes be heard and recorded at the July 1st meeting. Thank you, Honorable Carmen John Meffy and Donna Pasatko Meffy. Our next public comment comes from Amy Kramer. Email address krameramy24@gmail.com. I am opposed to further development in regards to this matter. Natural preservation, please. Amy, Riviera Beach homeowner. Our next public comment comes from Richard Barbara. Email address rich@barrettogroup.com. To whom it may concern, I am counsel to Government Lot 1 LLC, a Riviera Beach landowner. We are in receipt for the first time of the allegedly revised notice of zoning category and zoning map amendment, wherein the city proposes to adopt a new special preservation ordinance affecting real property owned by my client and several neighbors. These comments are intended to place the city of Riviera Beach on express notice that the proposed special preservation ordinance, if passed, will result in an unlawful taking of the subject property under the federal and Florida constitutions. Such a taking will leave my client with no alternative but to pursue any and all legal remedies available to it. The power to avoid protracted and costly litigation rests with the city. Richard L. Barber, Esquire, General Counsel. The next public comment comes from Farah Tonos. Email address farahtonos@gmail.com. To whom it may concern, as a resident of Singer Island, I vehemently oppose any sort of development on the lagoon. I strongly support the implementation of a special preservation district to protect the precious lagoon and surrounding area. Any such development would have a detrimental impact on the ecosystem, severely disrupting and destroying the fragile environment. For the sake of this earth, this heavenly piece of paradise, we are fortunate enough to call home, and the greater good of the Riviera Beach community. I strongly urge you to enforce the Special Preservation District. It is absolutely crucial that this is effectuated. Thank you for your consideration and cooperation. Sincerely, Farah Tonos. Ms. Hall will continue with the public comment. You want to come here? You can come here.
Madam Chair, continuing with the public comment. This public comment comes from Nat Lynch. The email address is computerservice@att.net. Please approve the zoning to special preservation status to match the city's comprehensive plan. Additionally, the city hired attorney Andy Bauman, who in a workshop meeting addressed the city council and explained the comprehensive plan is of the highest level and it doesn't matter that the zoning doesn't match. It's just a technicality that should be done. He also stated if anything happens in this submerged land area that is contrary to the comprehensive plan, residents can sue and be reimbursed for their legal fees. So council members shouldn't worry about one or two submerged landowners, possibly for their legal fees. Rather, the council members should be very aware that if anything happens contrary to the comprehensive plan, the thousands of residents on Singer Island are all well organized and have the right to sue and have been promised legal help if needed from various turtle, manatee, fishing, and environmental groups.
Time.
The next comment comes from Kim Muncie, KMUNCIE3@gmail.com. Hello, my name is Kim. I live at 3400 North Ocean Drive in Riviera Beach. I support the creation of the Special Preservation District to coincide with the city's comprehensive plan. Thank you, Kim Muncie. Next is Cynthia. Cynthia AJ Franklin at gmail.com. Dear City of Riviera Beach City Council members and City Manager, I ask that you please read this message into the meeting minutes for my public comment on for Ordinance 4147. And my sincere hope is that you vote to support the creation of the Special Preservation District to coincide with the city's comprehensive plan and help us all work to safeguard and protect our area's vital aquatic assets. With thanks for your service in our community, Cynthia E. Johnson, 1171 Surf Road, Riviera Beach, Florida, 33404. The next comment is Monica Stein, mstein@comcast.net. Dear City of Riviera Beach City Council members and City Manager, please read this message into the meeting minutes for my public comment for Ordinance 4147 regarding the creation of the Special Preservation District. It is my sincere hope that you will vote to support the creation of this Special Preservation District to coincide with the city's comprehensive plan. We all need to work together to safeguard and protect our area's unique and vital aquatic assets. Thank you very much for your service in our community. Sincerely, Monica Stein, 2800 North Ocean Drive, A22C, Riviera Beach, Florida, 33404. Next is Fran Stein, skstein@comcast.net. Dear City of Riviera Beach City Council members and City Manager, it is my sincere hope that you will vote to support the creation of the Special Preservation District to coincide with the city's comprehensive plan. We all need to work together to safeguard and protect our area's unique and vital aquatic assets. Thank you so much for your service in our community. Friends, Stein, 2800 North Ocean Drive, A22C, Riviera Beach, Florida, 33404. The next comment is from Alice Miguel, email address acn727@yahoo.com. Dear Riviera Beach City Council members and Riviera Beach Manager, I'm asking that you all cast your vote in favor of the creation of the Special Preservation District to coincide with the city's comprehensive plan to safeguard and protect our area's vital aquatic assets north of Pine Point Road, along the west side of North Ocean Drive from any and all future development and construction projects. I am a longtime resident at 855 Hawthorne Drive, Lake Park, and I've seen so much change on the island over the years. This little pocket of nature that is left on this part of the island is a real gem, and to pave it over with development will basically remove the last touch of charm that sets the area apart. Thank you. Sincerely, Alice Miguel. The next comment is from TM. Email address is Mr. TIMINAZ@yahoo.com. Please understand my vote counts. I support the creation of the Special Preservation District to coincide with the city's comprehensive plan. Best, Tim McGill, 2640 Lakeshore Drive, 214, Riviera Beach, Florida, 33404. The next email is from bsmith28033@aol.com. I'm writing to support the initiative to stop any and all future development and construction projects in the lagoon. This is a beautiful area that needs to be preserved and kept pristine in its natural state for perpetuity. We've been residents of Singer Island for over 20 years, and one of the reasons we stay is for the beauty of the lagoon. Ben and Marion Smith, 4200 North Ocean Drive, 17052, Riviera Beach, Florida. Next public comment is from Fern6850@aol.com. City of Riviera Beach Council and City Manager. My sincere hope is that you will vote to support the creation of the Special Preservation District to coincide with the city's comprehensive plan and help us all work to safeguard and protect our area's Lake Worth Lagoon, vital aquatic assets. Please help keep our lagoon in its natural state for future generations to enjoy. Thank you. F.M. Russo, Sugar Sands, Singer Island. The next comment is from Jack A. Fairbrother. Email address DEARFAIR@AOL.com. I ask that you please read this message into the meeting minutes for my public comments on Ordinance 4147. And my sincere hope is that you will vote to support the creation of the Special Preservation District to coincide with the city's comprehensive plan and help us all work to safeguard and protect our area's vital aquatic assets. With thanks for your service in our community, Jack A. Fairbrother, 1031 Fairview Lane, Riviera Beach, Singer Island, Florida, 33404. The next email address has the same email address, bearfair@aol.com. I ask that you please read this message into the meeting for my public comments on Ordinance 4147. And my sincere hope is that you will vote to support the creation of the Special Preservation District to coincide with the city's comprehensive plan and help us all work to safeguard and protect our area's vital aquatic assets. With thanks for your service in our community, Gail Brenner, 1031 Fairview Lane, Riviera Beach, Singer Island, Florida, 33404. The next public comment comes from Yvonne Cruz, and that's YVONNEPILATES@gmail.com. I reside full-time at 4600 North Ocean Drive. I support any measures you may approve to protect and preserve Munyon's Cove, the north end of Lake Worth Lagoon, north of Pine Point Road, and west of Ocean Boulevard and east of Big and Little Munyon Islands, and protected from development. From Yvonne T. Cruz, Pilates Professional, 4600 North Ocean Drive, apartment 1902, Singer Island, Florida, 33404. The next comment comes from Marius Erickson, email address e.mattias.eriksson@gmail.com. Please approve the zoning of the submerged land to match the city's comprehensive plan, which is designated special preservation. Best regards, Marius Erickson, 1151 Pine Point Road, Riviera Beach, Florida, 33404. The next comment is from Mellie Lewis, MELLIE Lewis, LEWIS, @hotmail.com. Please preserve one of Riviera Beach's most fragile assets by voting for the Special Preservation District. The vote by the City of Riviera Beach Planning and Zoning Board was unanimous, 7-0 in favor of the motion for a Special Preservation District. I urge you to approve the zoning to special preservation status to match the city's comprehensive plan. I would like this message read into the public record. Sincerely, Mellie Lewis, 1241 Pine Point Road, Singer Island, Florida, 33404. Next comment is from Maria Milano, MD. Email address GIGIMOLANO@bellsouth.net. Good afternoon. Please approve the zoning to special preservation status to match the city's comprehensive plan. Thanks. Maria Milano, MD, 1081 Pine Point Road, Riviera Beach, Florida, 33404. Next is Teofilo Lama, email address TRAUMALAMA@gmail.com. Good afternoon. Please approve the zoning to special preservation status to match the city's comprehensive plan. Teofilo Lema, MD, 1081 Pine Point Road, Riviera Beach, Florida, 33404. The next comment is from Gabriel Lema, email address gabriel.lama18@gmail.com. Good evening. Please approve the zoning to special preservation status to match the city's comprehensive plan. Thanks. Gabriel Lema, 1081 Pine Point Road, Riviera Beach, Florida, 33404. The next comment comes from Gisela Riva D. Spigno, email address gisele.dispigno@gmail.com. As a full-time resident of Riviera Beach at 4600 North Ocean, I'm writing to support the proposed special preservation zoning ordinance. The creation of the special preservation district as part of the city's comprehensive plan is key to protect and preserve the delicate ecosystem of Munion's Cove. From Gisela Riva D. Spigno, and our phone number was listed as 847-922-6666. The next comment comes from Guy D. Spigno, email address drguy@alum.northwestern.edu. I support creation of a special preservation zone. I reside at 4600 North Ocean Drive, Riviera Beach. Guy J. Dispigno, PhD, licensed clinical psychologist. The next comment is from Lori Wasserstein, email address libi3113@icloud.com. Please create a moratorium on any and all development of the lagoon and make it a forever wild area. The lagoon is a special part of Senior Island that should be preserved for its beauty, conservation, to the sea life and plants. Lack of parking is also a problem with development. Thank you. The next comment comes from John Miller, email address johnboyslick@gmail.com. John Miller, 1290 Manor Drive, Council, City Manager, and Mayor. Please approve Ordinance 4147 and the rezoning of the underwater property at the Lake Worth Lagoon. Our city's comprehensive plan needs to be upheld. 99% of all of your constituents living in District 4 are in favor of keeping our lagoon pristine. Please listen to the citizens living on the island and approve this ordinance. The next public comment comes from Beth Brady. Beth at serenianinternational.org. Please approve the zoning to special preservation status to match the city's comprehensive plan. This area is home and vital feeding ground for multiple species, including manatees, endangered green sea turtles, and many others. Beth Brady, President, Serenian International, 1327 Northeast 27th Way, Pompano Beach, Florida. The next comment comes from Mary Lou Nason, email address nason21@gmail.com. Please approve the zoning to special preservation status to match the city's comprehensive plan. This area is a home and feeding ground for manatees, endangered green sea turtles, and many other species. Thank you for your consideration. Mary Lou Nason, 1020 Powell Drive, Riviera Beach, Florida, 33404. The next comment is from Hillary Ward, email address hward17@yahoo.com. Dear City of Riviera Beach City Council members and City Manager, please read this message into the meeting minutes for our public comment regarding our support for establishing Ordinance 4147. We ask you to support the creation of a special preservation area on the Riviera Beach City zoning map, which will mirror the special preservation future land use area per the city's future land use map. We wish to preserve the natural beauty of the Lake Worth Lagoon by establishing Ordinance 4147. Sincerely yours, Dr. Paul and Hillary Ward, 4200 North Ocean Drive, Riviera Beach, Florida, 33404. The next public comment comes from Craig at Comins, KOMINS.com. I wanted to express my strong desire for the creation of the Special Preservation District to help save the lagoon. Keep up the good work. Craig Comins, 1261 Morse Boulevard, Riviera Beach, Florida, 33404. The next comment is from Lori McKee, LORINCKEE CPA@bellsouth.net is the email address. Please approve the zoning to special preservation status to match the city's comprehensive plan. This is very important to protect the environment for all of Riviera Beach residents. Lori McKee, 1101 Pinecrest Point, Senior Island, Florida. The next comment comes from Rita Hill. It says, Dear Council, I would like to voice my support for the Special Preservation District coincide with the city's comprehensive plan. And that's from Rita Hill, 5520 North Ocean Drive. The email address is manor1805@aol.com. The next email comes from Kyle Hauser, and the email address is Kyle, K-Y-L-E, Hauser, Hauser, 56@gmail.com. I'm in favor of the City Council creating a special preservation district to keep the Lake Worth Lagoon from Pine Point Drive to the south, MacArthur Park to the north, and Ocean Drive to the east, in order to keep this area in its natural state of perpetuity. Respectfully, Kyle Hauser, Senior Island resident. Next email address comes from Loretta Andrus, and the email address is oceanyorkie7@gmail.com. I am in favor of the City Council creating a special preservation district to keep the Lake Worth Lagoon from Pine Point Drive to south, MacArthur Park to the north, and Ocean Drive to the east, in order to keep this area in its natural state for perpetuity. Loretta Andrus, 5070 North Ocean Drive, Riviera Beach, Florida, 33404. The next comment comes from Mike Green, email address mikegreen@tmgtsvcs.com. Please approve the zoning to special preservation status to match the city's comprehensive plan. James Green, 1251 Pine Point Road, Riviera Beach, Florida, 33404. The next email address comes from Bill Doniger. The email address is wrdoniger@gmail.com. The Regis Condo, with 94 members, strongly supports a yes vote for preservation of our precious lagoon. Bill Doniger, President. The next email is from Cindy Green, ckgreen16@gmail.com. Please approve the zoning to special preservation status to match the city's comprehensive plan. Cindy Green, 1251 Pine Point Road, Riviera Beach, Florida, 33404. The next comment comes from Yulia Pushkar. The email address is ypushkar@purdue.edu. Honored City Council members, please approve the zoning to special preservation status to match the city's comprehensive plan. Best regards, Yulia Pushkar, 1151 Pine Point Road, Riviera Beach, Florida, 33404. Our next comment comes from email address fotek@prestigeperio.com. Please approve the zoning to special preservation status to match the city's comprehensive plan. Paul Fotek, 1181 Pine Point Road, Riviera Beach, Florida, 33404. Next comment is from Erica Wasserstein, and that's EWASSERSTEIN@gmail.com. To whom it may concern, I'm writing to state that I support the creation of the Special Preservation District to coincide with the city's comprehensive plan. This is in reference to the lagoon north of Pine Point Road along the west side of North Ocean Drive. Erica Wasserstein, 4200 North Ocean Drive, 2-106, Singer Island, Florida, 33404. The next email comes from Charles Lewis. The email address is chucklewis39@hotmail.com. The vote by the City of Riviera Beach Planning and Zoning Board was unanimous 7-0 in favor of the motion for a special preservation district. I urge you to approve the zoning for the new special preservation zoning district to match the city's comprehensive plan. Many people see nature as an expanse of greenery, a view of trees, or a view of water. The view of water is usually the surface that is less than 1% of a lake, river, ocean, or inlet. Nature is much more than this. You have to go below the surface of water to see nature. However, even in the surface of water can bring a sense of well-being to urban dwellers. Notable architects such as Lee Corbusier or Frank Lloyd Wright were visionaries who argued that urban dwellers needed nature for inspiration. City and urban dwellers can live in complex towers, but they need nature around these towers. This concept was lost on the east side of North Ocean Drive, where condominiums were placed elbow to elbow with little space in between. The next public comment comes from Lynn Tabernacki. Email address ltabernacki124@gmail.com. Dear City Council members, thank you very much for considering the special preservation zoning ordinances with your vote on June 17th. I respectfully request that the following be entered into public comments. I support the creation of the Special Preservation District to coincide with the city's comprehensive plan for Singer Island. Respectfully, Lynn Tabernacki, 5150 North Ocean Drive, Apartment 1201, Riviera Beach, Florida, 33404. The next comment comes from, this is a duplicate here, so we'll move on to the next one. The next one comes from Susan Trubetskoy, and the email address is souka@aol.com. Dear council members, please approve the zoning to special preservation status to match the city's comprehensive plan. Thank you. Susan Trubetskoy, 1061 Pine Point Road, Riviera Beach, Florida, 33404. Next public comment comes from Nicole Pokapetz. The email address is nprokopetz@comcast.net. Please approve the zoning to special preservation status to match the city's comprehensive plan. Lexa Pokapetz, 1231 Pine Point Road, Riviera Beach, Florida, 33404. And the next comment is from Tom Tyford, and the email address is ttwyford@westpalmbeachfishingclub.org. To whom it may concern, the West Palm Beach Fishing Club encourages the Riviera Beach City Council to approve the proposed zoning change, Ordinance 4147, to Special Preservation District status to match the City of Riviera Beach Comprehensive Plan for the submerged lands located in the area often referred to as Munyon Cove, north of Pine Point Road and west of North Ocean Drive in Riviera Beach. The West Palm Beach Fishing Club has long supported efforts to protect the critical estuarine habitat that exists there. Thank you for the council's consideration. And as Tom Tyford, President, West Palm Beach Fishing Club, 201 Fifth Street, West Palm Beach, Florida, 33404. The next comment comes from Brian Wasserstein, and it's brian.wasserstein@gmail.com. Good afternoon. I'm writing to express my support for the creation of the Special Preservation District of Pine Point Road along the west side of North Ocean Drive during the upcoming city's comprehensive plan development. Although I work in the construction industry and generally support policies that foster job creation, I think it's critical to preserve remaining natural habitats on Singer Island. Sincerely, Brian Wasserstein, 4200 North Ocean Drive, 1705-2, Singer Island, Florida, 33404. The next comment comes from Paul Catcher. Email address is paulkatche@aol.com. Keep the lagoon beautiful and pristine. Paul Catcher, 5070 North Ocean Drive. The next comment comes from Connor McKee. Email address is flatsfisher9393@gmail.com. Please approve the zoning to special preservation status to match the city's comprehensive plan. Please, this area is home and feeding grounds for manatees, endangered green sea turtles, and so many other species. I grew up being able to fish and enjoy the area, and it needs to be preserved so hundreds, if not thousands, of other people can do the same over future generations. Connor McKee, 1101 Pine Point Road, Singer Island, Florida, 33404. The next public comment comes from Peggy Lindenborn. Email address PEGSUE581@AOL.com. Dear City of Riviera Beach, my husband and I are owners on Singer Island and Florida residents. We reside at 2800 North Ocean Drive, B16C, Riviera Beach. We support the creation of the Special Preservation District to coincide with the city's comprehensive plan. Please help us all to keep the lagoon in its natural state for future generations to enjoy and to protect our endangered sea wildlife. We are happy to serve on any committee and help in any manner. Thank you for all you do to make our committee so amazing. Regards, Dundee and Peggy Lindenborn, 2800 North Ocean Drive, B16C, Riviera Beach, Florida, 33404. The next public comment comes from Karen Gleason. Email address kgleason KarenGleason.com. Council members and Mr. Mayor, the city's comprehensive plan established and identified a special preservation land use area in 1989. That plan clearly states that no residential or commercial development is allowed on the lands and submerged lands bordered by Pine Point Road and North Ocean Drive. When a current submerged landowner paid a mere $24,000 for his lot in February 2014, it was because he knew the land could not be used for commercial or residential development. As a smart investor, he had done his research and recognized the limitations of the land. Now he comes before you crying that this limitation is unfair and points to a potential loss of tax revenue and a potential loss of opportunity for him to develop the very land that he knew had 30 years of statutory restrictions when he bought it. The comprehensive plan takes precedence over all other land uses by Florida statute. The ordinance before you tonight is to comply with a Florida statute requiring the city to align the zoning code. The next public comment comes from Kenneth Krogowski, email address KEN@BERKSHIREAM.com. My wife and I have lived at the Marriott Resort at Singer Island. We support the creation of the Special Preservation District to coincide with the city's comprehensive plan. Regards, Ken Krogowski. The next public comment comes from Deborah Kane, email address DEBKANEPA@gmail.com. I'm a resident of Singer Island and am writing to get your support for the change in zoning for the Lake Worth Lagoon, west of North Ocean on Singer Island, to a special preservation district. The owners of the underwater parcels in the lagoon have shown no respect for you, the environment, or the neighbors. They have disregarded every action the city of Riviera Beach has taken to proceed in a just and legal way. They have trashed in their property. They've cut down sea grapes and mangroves. They placed floating docks that have damaged the shoreline. They've built walls and fences. They've added fill, all while being told by Riviera Beach that there were no permits allowing them to do any of this. They park illegally on the sidewalks and in the bike lane, creating a safety hazard for walkers and bikers. They continue to move forward while there has been a moratorium in place. Lozman and Taylor have totally disrespected the Riviera Beach City Council, the DEP, and all of the taxpayers on the land. They believe they can do whatever they wish, whenever they wish. This needs to be stopped now. The next public comment comes from Maria Milano, MD. I believe this one is a duplicate. We read this one already. The next public comment comes from James Gleason. And the email address is jgleason@karengleason.com. Council members and Mr. Mayor, the City Council is being asked to bring zoning and future land use regulations into compliance with the city's comprehensive plan and special preservation future land use adopted in 1989. The plan, which establishes a framework for all land development in the city, including submerged lands bordered by Pine Point Road and North Ocean Drive, prohibits all residential and commercial development in that area. As you consider Ordinance 4147, bear in mind that any citizen of Riviera Beach may exercise his right to enforce the comprehensive plan if that provisions are being violated. He can do this by bringing an action seeking declaratory and injunctive relief against any development order inconsistent with the plan. Moreover, if he prevails in his suit, his legal costs will be borne by the city. So by bringing current zoning into alignment with the comprehensive plan, the council is fulfilling what has been mandated by Florida statute. Please vote to pass Ordinance 4147. Thanks for your consideration. Jim Gleason, 1211 Pine Point Road, Singer Island, Florida, Riviera Beach, 33404. The next public comment comes from Jim Kane. Email address jasrkane@gmail.com. City Council members, please vote to enact the special preservation land use designation for the lands north of Pine Point Road and west of North Ocean Drive. Your affirmative vote is fully consistent with Florida and federal laws. Sincerely, Jim Kane, 5150 North Ocean Drive, number 2003, Riviera Beach, Florida, 33404. The next public comment comes from Matthew Kwiatkowski. Email address matkw iat@gmail.com. Please pass the Special Preservation District to match the comprehensive plan. My wife and I have been residents of Riviera Beach for just over 5 years, and during this time, we have come to realize that this city is unmatched with all of its diversity and abundance of beauty. You, as the council, have a duty not only to Singer Island residents, but to all those who reside in our city to protect its unique and irreplaceable environment. I know that city council members come and go, and that it's not a lifetime appointment. What your predecessors had the insight and fortitude to put in place this wonderful comprehensive plan that included creating this special preservation area. Personally, our decision to buy this property was heavily influenced by the protection provided by the comprehensive plan. And I know from firsthand accounts that many of the residents expect that this pristine area will be protected. This almost goes without saying, let alone debating within council chambers. I encourage you to stand your ground on the strong legal basis created by your predecessors. The next public comment comes from Matt Lynch. Email address, computerservice@att.net. Okay, this one is a duplicate. Sorry about that. The next public comment comes from Lisa Interlandi. The email address is lisa@evergladeslaw.org. I write on behalf of the Lake Worth Waterkeeper and the Everglades Law Center to support the adoption of Ordinance 4147 to amend the zoning code and zoning designations to be consistent with the city's comprehensive plan. Lisa Interlandi, Everglades Law Center, evergladeslaw.org. The next public comment comes from Norma Leo, email address nlleal1@icloud.com. My name is Norma Leo. I live at 4200 North Ocean Drive, Singer Island. I vote yes to prevent development of the lagoon. This is an important ecosystem issue. Thanks for your prompt attention, Norma Leo. Next public comment comes from Justine. I apologize. And the email address is tink, T-I-N-K, J-U-S-T-I-N-E @AOL.com. Vote yes to prevent development in our lagoon. Justine Greenwell, Singer Island. The next public comment comes from Glenn Spiritus. The email address is dokspirit12@icloud.com. Honorable members of the City Council and Mayor, I am speaking on behalf of the 256 taxpayers of the Waterglades condominium in Riviera Beach. We support the zoning of the land and submerged land adjacent to Pine Point Road, running north to MacArthur Park and adjacent to North Ocean Drive to the east as a preservation zone. It is important that we protect this most important environmental treasure. Thank you, Glenn L. Spiritus, PhD, President of the Waterglades Condominium. The next public comment comes from Jorge Leo, email address jhleal@icloud.com. I am a resident of Singer Island. We must preserve the ecosystem at the lagoon. I have already witnessed the cutting of mangrove trees. I vote yes to prevent the development in the lagoon. Jorge Leo, 4200 North Ocean Drive. The next public comment comes from Bill Muchow, email address bmuchow@inspirata.com. I support the prevention of future land development in our lagoon along with the same lines. My question revolves around rules and regulations. A growing number of residents are questioning why Peanut Island and its accompanying sandbar is still closed. It has been viewed as favoritism, and I would like the committee to answer as to how it is not. The past 4 weekends, Phil Foster Park, literally 200 away. It's so packed that they have to turn people away. People at the Sailfish Marina, 75 feet away, are enjoying food and relaxing at the Tiki Bar, yet the area in question remains patrolled heavily by our tax dollars, and for what reason exactly? Thanks in advance from all of us for your committee's explanation. The next public comment comes from email address irenah@hotmail.com. Please vote yes to no more development in our lagoon. Keep it natural. Thank you. Irene Rolnick. The next public comment comes from email address f.kirk@me.com. We vote no on development of lagoon. It is the most natural, unobstructed view we have off ocean. Cannot be developed. Francine Kirk, Roger Kirk, 1140 Bimini Lane. The next public comment comes from Mary Lawrence. Email address mlawndc@aol.com. Please vote yes to prevent developing the lagoon. Mary Lawrence, 1101 Powell Drive. The next public comment is Michael Melby. Email address MEMELBY17@gmail.com. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Michael Melby, and I own a home in Palm Beach Isles, as does my brother Larry. The primary reason we chose to live here is the beauty and natural surroundings that Singer Island provides for our families. I would ask that you seriously consider doing everything possible to maintain the island's charm by voting yes to prevent develop to our lagoon. We must prevent unnecessary destruction to the ecosystem of Singer Island, as it truly makes it a very special place to live. Thank you for your time and consideration. The next public comment comes from email address DOWN6065@bellsouth.net. I vote yes to prevent any type of development and destruction in and of the beautiful natural preserve and wildlife habitat of Singer Island Lagoon. Our lagoon is a nesting place for horseshoe crabs, a mating area for manatees. I've seen them in the shallows, and a sanctuary for many species of birds, and home to too many species of other wildlife to count, as well as a very large protected mangrove area that is not supposed to be touched unless by licensed professionals and preservationists. From Star Downey, 1240 Bimini Lane, Singer Island, Florida, 33404. The next public comment comes from Michael Slozer. Email address, michaelslozer@gmail.com. Mayor Feldo, Chair Botel, Council Member, City Manager Evans. From the day I bought my condo 17 years ago until today, I never stopped thinking about how beautiful Singer Island is and how lucky we are to be here no matter where we live. Only in the past year or so has it become clear that there are those who have a different agenda. Therefore, I support and ask you to do as well the creation of a special preservation district on Singer Island. It seems the only way we, as a city, can be sure the land north of Pine Point Road and west of North Ocean Drive is protected under the city's comprehensive plan and future use land map. As a citizen of Riviera Beach and a member of various civic organizations, I ask you to look favorably on this and vote for ordinance number 4147. This may not be the most important issue we face as a community, but it is about our future and what we can do to protect it. Thank you for your time. Michael Slozer, 4100 North Ocean Drive, Riviera Beach, Florida. This is a duplicate. The next public comment comes from Mary Lawrence. Greetings, council members. I hope this note finds you well. Please vote yes to prevent development on the lagoon on Singer Island. Mary Lawrence, 1101 Powell Drive. Email address mlawndc@aol.com. Next public comments comes from Eileen DeJong. Email address ILENEDEJONG@yahoo.com. Vote yes to prevent development on our lagoon. From Eileen DeJong. Next public comment is from Joan Willis. Email address Steve, JOANI@AOL.com. Please do not allow them to ruin Singer Island any more than they already have. We do not want development in our waters. Joan Willis, 4100 North Ocean Drive, Riviera Beach. The next public comment comes from Beverly Cheeks Jewell. Email address BACheeks, JEWELL @iCloud.com. To whom it may concern, as a resident of Palm Beach Isles for the past 19 years, our household, Curtis and Beverly Jewell, are extremely concerned about the natural habitat of the lagoons on Singer Island. We are voting yes to prevent all development of lagoons on Singer Island. Thank you for your consideration. The next public comment comes from Mark Moore, MMoore@KAVALIRO.com. Thank you for bringing this up, Bill. I fully support both statements you have made here. I would like to understand the logic behind closing these areas and why our rights are being subjected to opinions of a few. This is from Mark Moore, President and YPO Southeast and Caribbean Regional Chair. The next public comments comes from Downey P at Comcast.net. That's DOWNEYP at Comcast.net. Please vote yes to prevent development in our lagoon, and that is from Patricia Downey. Next public comment comes from Patricia Papa. Email address, Patricia, ANNPAPA@gmail.com. Vote yes to prevent development in our lagoon. Patricia Papa, 1160 Dolphin Road. Next comment comes from email address, FREDDIETZ11@Comcast.net. Please approve the zoning to special preservation status to match the city's comprehensive plan. And that comes from Freddie TV at 1170 Morse Boulevard, Riviera Beach, Florida. The next public comment comes from the same email address, and it reads, please approve the zoning to special preservation status to match the city's comprehensive plan. And that is from Maureen Lynch, 1170 Morse Boulevard, Riviera Beach, Florida. Next comment comes from Judy Dania, email address, judy.dynia@yahoo.com. I am in favor of the City Council creating a special preservation district to keep the Lake Worth Lagoon in its natural state for perpetuity from Pine Point Drive to the south, MacArthur Park to the north, and Ocean Drive to the east. Respectfully, Judith Dania, 5080 North Ocean Drive, number 14C, Riviera Beach, Florida, 33404. The next comment comes from Larry Miller, L. Miller, at assetmgtplanning.com. I am in favor of voting yes on item 11 of tonight's agenda, designating the land north of Pine Point Road and west of North Ocean Drive as a protected zone for future land development. Larry Miller, East Point 1, Condo, Riviera Beach. Next public comment is from Linda Williams. Email address, lynda.williams341@hotmail.com. Please vote yes as to no more building on Singer Island on or near the lagoon. It has to stop. Linda Williams, 4100 North Ocean Drive, Riviera Beach, Florida. Next comment comes from email address, robin32844@aol.com. Please vote yes to preserving the lagoon on Singer Island and all environment on island. Thank you, Ann Craig, 1091 Pine Point Road. The next comment comes from Hotmail Team. Email address, DEBBYMELDAHL@hotmail.com. I'm voting yes to prevent development of the lagoons. Thank you. Deb Meldown. The next comment is from Kathy Newman. Email address, CMANEWMAN@bellsouth.net. I vote yes to prevent development of lagoon on Singer Island. Kathy Newman, 3640 North Ocean Drive, Villa Towers. Next comment.
Or recorded. For more information about our privacy practices, visit us at xfinity.com/privacy.
Okay.
Do we have any idea what that was about?
Okay, should I continue?
Please, yes.
Okay.
About, let's see, we started at 5:42. We've been for about an hour and a half. Do we have a sense of how many we've been through?
I am on number 162, and it goes to 180. How many more do we have?
Okay.
Okay, yeah, we end at 180.
Okay.
I'm on 162.
All right. Ms. Miller Anderson.
There's someone else that has their phone unmuted, so I don't know if that's caller number 2. Maybe that was who had the noise. I'm not sure, but there's only one person talking right now, so I'm not sure why that caller has their phone unmuted.
Caller number, I'm trying to see. Oh, I see it. Yeah, could everyone except the person speaking mute their phones, including those of you who are just calling in and not using the computer? Thank you.
Okay,
Madam Clerk,
continue.
continue. Thank you.
Oh, okay. The next comment comes from email address Thompson, THER @AOL.com. Please stop all development in our precious lagoon. Teresa Thompson. The next public comment comes from Susan Hoffman, email address sjhoffman@hotmail.com. Please vote yes tonight to block building in the lagoon. Thank you, Susan Hoffman. The next comment is from email address lifsrof1@gmail.com. Good evening. I'd like to encourage you to vote yes on building in the lagoon. The wildlife and the entire environment and ecosystem has always been special to me. Then my husband and now my son. My family has owned a property on Senior Island since 1974 when I was 5 years old. The views of the lagoon are open to everyone as it is a public bike trail that goes all along the lagoon. Again, please vote yes tonight. Thank you. Catherine Simmons. Next public comment is from Lisa Cannell. Email address is toomanycaps305@msn.com. To whom it may concern, please stop and retract any building permits allowed in our lagoons. This area was not developed to look like a concrete city. It's overbuilt as it is, and we really need to preserve what's left of it. Please vote yes to protect our lagoons. It's what's left of our local ecosystem, and once it's gone forever. Sincerely, Lisa Cannell. The next public comment comes from Susan Robinson.
We lost. I think we lost the audio from the clerk.
I'm still here.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
still here. Okay. This public comment comes from Susan Robinson, SUZL Robinson at cs.com. I, Susan Robinson of Senior Island, vote yes to keep our lagoon undeveloped. Next public comment comes from James Ryan, email address jdr@ryanlawgroup.net. Apparently, the city is being advised the law requires the city
Is
to
this a duplicate?
rezone.
This is a duplicate, I think.
Okay, this is a duplicate. Sorry about
Thank
that. The next public comment comes from Christy.Higgins@gmail.com. She lives at 1211 Morse Boulevard, Riviera Beach. Please pass the proposed zoning change to create a special preservation district to coincide with the comprehensive plan of the city of Riviera Beach. The next public comment comes from Lynn Rutenberg, email address speech49@me.com. We support the creation of a special preservation district to save the lagoon north of Pine Point Road and along west side of North Ocean Drive from any and all future development and or construction projects. Respectfully yours, Lynn, Lyn and L-E-N, Rutenberg, 5070 North Ocean Drive, 70 South, Senior Island, Florida, 33404. Next public comment comes from email address des12404@comcast.net. Please approve the zoning and special preservation status to match the city's comprehensive plan. Mary Lou Desmond, 5070 North Ocean Drive, 3C, Singer Island. The next public comment is from Reen Tracy, email address Florida NENE @yahoo.com. Longtime resident of Singer Island, please vote to preserve the lagoon property and prevent any more building in that area. Thank you, Renee Brown. The next public comment is from Karen Weatherall, email address COOLNANA401@gmail.com. I, Karen Weatherall, who lives at 3640 North Ocean Drive, vote yes to block building in the lagoon. The next public comment is from Marsha McIntyre, email address mmmcIntyre2001@yahoo.com. Please vote yes to prevent development in our lagoon. Thank you, Marsha McIntyre. Next public comment is from Marianne Wagon, email address WIEGANDMAR2544@gmail.com. I'm in full support of voting yes for ordinance 4147. Please approve the zoning to special preservation status to match the city's comprehensive plan. Respectfully, Marianne Wagon, 1155 Morse Boulevard, Singer Island, Florida, 33404. Next public comment is from JB Dixon, email address jbdixson@icloud.com. Please vote to approve the ordinance on a special preservation district, JB Dixon, 3000 North Ocean Drive. The next public comment comes from email address barshk@gtlaw.com. On behalf of my clients, I'm attaching a letter in opposition to the Special Preservation District that is scheduled for consideration by the City Council. Because the meeting is virtual, please read the letter into the record at the appropriate time of the agenda on tonight's meeting. And it reads, I am writing on behalf of Halo Development, LLC, Fane, Lozman, and Renegade Trust 2, the owners of real property located within the geographic of the proposed Special District Preservation, the Special Preservation Zoning District, Ordinance 4133 and more, particularly described in Exhibit A to this letter. Together, Halo, Fane, Lozman, and Renegade Trust 2 own approximately 51 acres of land, which accounts for 20% or more of the area of the lots included in such proposed change. Halo previously placed the City of Riviera Beach on notice and does so here again that the adoption of rezoning ordinances that will modify current RS5 zoning to special preservation will result in regulatory taking. Members of Halo, as well as a majority of landowners whose properties will be affected by the rezoning, oppose the modification. Okay. And the next public comment comes from email address rexryx@gmail.com. Dear City Council, the City Council should reject the zoning change for the Singer Island Lagoon properties that the city staff recommends for approval. Instead, the City Council should change the comprehensive plan from special preservation to single-family residential. The City Council needs to consider that by changing the zoning for the lagoon properties, the city will be put at risk of financial ruin when these property owners sue the city for taking away their development rights. I've researched the matter, and all the houses and condos on north side of Singer Island were built on property that was sold by the state 100 years ago. Almost all of the property sold by the state has already been developed, and the remaining portion are owned by some very wealthy individuals. These individuals, led by Mr. Lowland, will fight this out in court for years to come and can easily bankrupt the city with a huge judgment when they win. Their properties in the lagoon, if they are developed, will be worth in the hundreds of millions of dollars, and a court judgment for hundreds of millions of dollars will be horrible. And the final public comment comes from Lynn Robertson, email address lmr329@aol.com. Voting yes to prevent development in our lagoon. Keep it natural, please. That is the end of public comments on this item.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Lawson.
I was gonna make a quick comment to see if my colleagues would indulge allowing for the I believe it was 5 or 6 public comments that got cut off during the public comments, to see if we'd be allowed to finish and complete those letters to be read into the record, so that we don't have this discussion later to say that certain comments were read and there was a bias in regards to hearing the comments. If that's something that legal would allow for us to do, and if my colleagues would entertain that, that would take another 15 minutes. And I think it would just be right to go ahead and put all of this to rest if possible.
Ms. Nguyen, do you want to weigh in on that?
Certainly. It's totally up to you. You have the right, when you have voluminous comments, to reduce the time. You've done that. If you want to make an exception for, I think Mr. Lawson said 5 or 6 comments, it's totally up to you, but you'd need a motion to be able to have to do that.
Well, I personally, how many comments did we have in total, Madam Clerk, again? Was it 210?
Madam Chair, in all honesty, we lost count.
Okay. So, I mean, I think I really don't think that we need to hear it very much more. You know, we want to move this along. If anyone else, you could make a motion, Mr. Lawson, I suppose, and see if you get a second. Mr.
Yes,
Lawson,
Madam Chair. Yes, please, Madam Chair. I'd like to make a motion that we go back and allow for public comments from the comments that went outside of the 1-minute mark, and see if we can complete those comments and read them into the record.
Second. I mean, we've been here all night with it anyway, so I'll second it.
I think McCoy seconded first, so go ahead. Madam Clerk, go ahead and call the roll.
Councilperson McCoy,
Yes.
Councilperson Miller Anderson,
Yes.
Councilperson Lanier,
Oh.
Pro Tem Lawson,
Yes.
Chair Botel.
No.
That motion is approved with Councilperson Lanier and Botel dissenting. Madam Chair, would request that me and Ms. Hall be given the opportunity to go back through the public comments to pull out those that have multiple paragraphs. So we put them all back together, so we have to go through and pull them all out again.
And Madam Chair, since we're going to read them back into the record, if we can go ahead and go into the presentation, allow for the presenters to speak, and then come back to them while the clerk, if that's a possibility, just to keep it moving.
Thanks. Ms. Nguyen, I have a question. I was asked if we could, for the next reading of this ordinance, would it be possible for us to create a petition and put the language of the petition out in the public and ask if there are people who would like to support the petition, so that only we could read the petition and say, we, the undersigned, support the petition asking the council to approve ordinance number 4147, whatever language you think would be good. And then people can just email the clerk and say, I would like you to add my name to the petition. Is that a thing we could do to cut down on this time?
Madam Chair, we would not draft a petition or push a petition out there.
Okay.
If someone else wanted to do that,
Okay.
maybe one of the public commenters, and circulate that amongst themselves and
Okay.
submit that, it would be a public record. We would not even necessarily have to read all the names. We would just receive and file it into the public record.
Okay, so would you need anything other than that? Do you need their names and email addresses, or names and addresses, or just the names?
Whatever they presented, I've seen it just with the names. I've never seen with
Okay.
email addresses as well.
Okay, that might help cut down
Yeah,
on the.
just the names are sufficient.
Okay, thank you. So I think,
Madam Chair,
Ms. Miller Anderson,
I missed that. Why are we asking about a petition?
because in order for the next reading, if we had another 200, we could cut down on that by having people just say to whoever organizes the petition, please add my name to the petition. And that way their voice would be heard, their opinion would be heard, but we wouldn't have to read the same thing over and over again. I mean, basically we had, if we had 210 comments, 206 of them were in support of the ordinance. So rather than having 206 public comments in support of an ordinance, if someone were to create a petition that people could send to that person and that their names be collected, it would cut down on the time and yet still give people that opportunity to have their feelings expressed.
Well, I think that's typically what is usually done, but I believe because of the fact that people are able to email in these comments and not have to be present, that is probably why we're seeing the number that we're seeing. I mean, if that's up to them, if they want to do a petition, but if they want to send in public comment cards like they're doing now, that's fine with me
Oh,
too.
yeah, no, we obviously
so
we can't stop people from
wouldn't
commenting.
organize
No,
that.
no. It
But
wouldn't be
typically
an
that's
either or.
I've never seen that 210 people come up to the podium and speak on it. So I would imagine it's because of the platform that we're in.
Right.
All righty, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Evans, do we have a presentation?
Yes, Madam Chair and members of the council. First and foremost, I would like to introduce our new Development Services Director, Mr. Clarence Sermons. So obviously, if you haven't had the opportunity to meet him face to face, there he is. We're excited to have him on board as part of the Riviera Beach family. So I'm going to turn the presentation over to Mr. Sermon, and then he's going to introduce some other folks that will be making the presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Good evening, Madam Chair, Council. This item will be presented by Assistant Director Jeff Gagnon, and I will be yielding the floor to him for this presentation.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Council. For the record, Jeff Gagnon, Assistant Director of Development Services. Let me switch over to the share screen mode. And I think we have it set up now. Okay, so you have before you an ordinance on first reading. It's ordinance number 4147. It's provided on the presentation just for the record. The title block is included. To start at the beginning, the city's comprehensive plan is really the roadmap for any sort of development activities within the city. Within the comprehensive plan, there are specific land use districts as well as a future land use map, and those set the framework for the city's zoning regulations and zoning map. Any sort of development activities in the city must adhere to the comprehensive plan and those requirements within, including those future land use districts and the future land use map itself. And Florida statute requires that the future land use map and zoning map are consistent and compatible with one another. What the city has realized is there's a current incompatibility between the future land use map and the zoning map, specifically associated with the special preservation future land use area. So currently we have a special preservation future land use area identified on the future land use map. However, the zoning map has an RS5 single family dwelling district designation associated with the same geographical area. So what this ordinance would do is correct that compatibility issue and allow us to be in line with the Florida statute requirements. So there's three main bullet points that this ordinance will achieve for the city. The first is, again, associated with the creation of the special preservation zoning district itself. So that's a text amendment. The second is the zoning map amendment that would provide the special preservation zoning area to be overlaid on that same area that would match the future land use map for that consistency item that we talked about before. The third point is this would result in sunsetting the current special preservation moratorium, which would kind of allow us to turn the page on this item and keep progressing as a city. If City Council does choose to approve this ordinance on first reading, we would of course have a second reading during a public hearing. This would prompt city staff to make that zoning map amendment and provide that consistency. The Planning and Zoning Board did vote favorably. I believe it was a 7-0 unanimous vote to move forward with this zoning amendment and map amendment. In addition to, city staff is recommending that the City Council consider approval of this ordinance. We also have joining us tonight Attorney Andrew Bowman from Lewis Longman Walker, and he also has a few slides that he'll present in a moment. I just want to go through a few of the maps that I referenced previously. The first is the future land use map, and this is adopted within the city's comprehensive plan. On the top right area of the screen, you'll see a green area that has been circled in red. This is the specific area that is currently designated as special preservation future land use. Here is a closer detail of this location, specifically calling out that area of land, which is located north of Pine Point and west of North Ocean Drive. So here's a city zoning map, which is required to be consistent and compatible with the future land use map. And on that top right area, you'll see a yellow coloration instead of a green coloration. That yellow color designates a single family zoning designation versus a special preservation zoning designation. So what this ordinance would do is create that new zoning designation as shown on the right-hand side of the screen in the green color versus the yellow zoning designation, which is the RS5 single-family zoning designation. So this ordinance would provide for that amendment and correct that issue that we have with our maps currently. So at this point, I would like to turn over the microphone to Attorney Bowman, if he's available to continue with the presentation, and I'll continue to advance the slides. Thank you.
Good evening, council persons. The slide that you have in front of you explains the reason for the city's action in this case. What you have in front of you is essentially what we refer to as the hierarchy of land use authority. So if you're talking about development and land use at the local level, at the very top of that pyramid is the comprehensive plan. From the standpoint of controlling and planning development within your community, the comprehensive plan is like the equivalent of a constitution, if you will. The comprehensive plan is required by the Florida statutes, has been since the mid 80s. Chapter 163.3194 requires the city to adopt a comprehensive plan, and that statute requires that every city's comprehensive plan must contain certain required elements like identifying future land uses, a transportation element, all of those things. It's a long range blueprint, if you will, for the city. Below the comprehensive plan sits the land development code or the zoning regulations. And the zoning regulations are interesting because cities have had zoning regulations for far longer than they've had comprehensive plans. The city's zoning regulations go back, many of the ones that we've looked at in this case go back to the 70s. And yet the city comprehensive plan is a product of the 80s. So in many cases, zoning regulations were already in place when the Florida legislature passed the original Growth Management Act and required that comprehensive planning be the top of this hierarchy, and requires in the statute that these land development regulations, if they're not already in place, must be developed to be consistent with the comprehensive plan. And any land development regulations that exist at the time that the plan is adopted, including amendments to the comprehensive plan, which are not consistent with the adopted comprehensive plan, have to be amended to make them consistent. So you can't have a comprehensive plan that says that something has to be blue and a zoning code that says that that same thing has to be red. You must make the two consistent. And then below the land development code is what we call development orders or development permits. Development orders and development permits are essentially the individual actions that the city takes at any one time to approve activity on land within the city. It can be your building permits, zoning approvals, variances, approving plats and subdivisions, special exceptions, any of those official type actions that people need in order to go about developing land, which in itself is kind of identified as changing the land in some physical way. Jeff, can you advance the slide?
Yeah, I'm attempting to move one ahead here.
Okay. There we go. So the comprehensive plan under the Florida statutes says that anytime you adopt the comprehensive plan or anytime you amend a comprehensive plan, you are supposed to go back and fix your development code to be consistent with those amendments. the law is that in the event of a conflict between the two, the comprehensive plan controls. It is at the top of the of that hierarchy. So you can't enforce or carry out actions under a land development code or zoning approval and give development permits to people like building permits, zoning, special exceptions based upon that development code if it's inconsistent with the comprehensive plan. And the law recognizes that there will be occasions where you'll have these interim periods of inconsistency. And we highlighted some language in the statute for you that states that during the interim period, when the provisions of the most recently adopted comprehensive plan or element or portion thereof and the land development code are inconsistent, the provisions of the most recently adopted comprehensive plan or element thereof shall govern any action taken in regard to application for a development order. So that sets out, that is supposed to cover that gap because the comprehensive plan process is a different process for amending and adopting your comprehensive plan than it is for changing your zoning. Recall that that's the process where you have to transmit copies of the amendment to the state. Now it's the Department of Economic Opportunity. They have to review it and get comments back to you from all the agencies. It follows a different process. And so very often the comprehensive plan is out ahead of the zoning code. So we heard a couple of comments from on the public comment about enforcement of consistency with the comprehensive plan. So the comprehensive plan is essentially citizen enforced in terms of how it's implemented. Chapter 163, section 3215 of the Florida statutes creates a mechanism by which any essentially any citizen is able to come forward as a resident of Riviera Beach and say, city, you have issued a building permit, a subdivision approval, a variance, any other kind of permit that is inconsistent with your comprehensive plan. And they can seek a declaratory judgment or injunctive relief against the government and essentially have the court declare the city's action to be inconsistent with the comprehensive plan and can further enjoin the city from taking any further action under that repugnant development order. Very famous case out of Martin County a few years back that I know your city attorney staff is familiar with, the Pinecrest Lakes versus Scheidel case. An example of that, a comprehensive plan required one thing. The Martin County issued development permits and whatnot for something different that allowed the construction of a certain configuration of an apartment building. Citizens went to court over that decision. And at the end of the day, the court said that, you know, this is inconsistent with the county. This is inconsistent with your comprehensive plan. And if we don't do anything about it, comprehensive plans don't mean anything. And ultimately, the developer of that condominium complex was forced to actually tear down buildings by the court. So this has teeth in it. Recently, last year, in fact, the prevailing party, whether it's the resident or the city, is entitled to their attorney's fees for bringing this sort of action. That's the last bullet point at the bottom of the slide. That was added recently to the statute, I believe, last legislative session, to provide both teeth for citizens who were seeking to enforce the comprehensive plan, but also to provide teeth for the government that was being maybe harassed by citizens on otherwise baseless, what we call comprehensive plan consistency challenges. So the special preservation land use has been in effect since 1989. Policy 1.8.1 of the comprehensive plan, and it sets out the requirements of what can be done in the areas that were shown in green on that future land use map in the comprehensive plan. Those restrictions have been placed on these properties since 1989. Any approval that the city gives a landowner that is inconsistent with what you see on this page could be taken to court and found to be inconsistent with the city's comprehensive plan, and therefore unenforceable. And now, under the new addition to the statute, the city could have to pay the residents or the group's attorney's fees. The one thing that is notable that we did highlight in that box, when you list the maximum intensities and densities for land use categories, what you're seeing in this box on the right-hand side is all of the future land use categories in the city of Riviera Beach, from the port to single-family residences. Next to them, you have floor area ratios, which would be a measure of non-residential intensity for commercial or industrial development. And then in the last column, you have densities. So in floor area ratio for non-commercial development, you see that special preservation was assigned a 0.0 floor area ratio. What that means is that there is no square footage of commercial or industrial use that is permitted to be constructed on land inside of these this land use category under the comprehensive plan. Next to it, you see density, which is the number of residential units allowed. And you'll see that in the residential categories and in the mixed use categories, you'll see lists of the number of residential units per acre. And then when you go down, you'll see that many of the categories have blanks, such as commercial, working waterfront, etc. And in many cases, that's because there's no residential permitted in those categories, such as recreational, utility, industrial, and the same is true of the special preservation. So there's no residential allowed. The problem is that we have a zoning code that says something different, and has said something different for quite some time. The zoning code, by contrast, was laid down prior to this comprehensive plan, and says that you can build 5 residential units per acre within the same land that is identified as having no residential units per acre, and has a whole nother list of categories of setbacks and whatnot, whereas those types of uses are not permitted under this special preservation land use that's been in effect and been in the city's comprehensive plan since 1989. Now, that is not unusual. A lot of cities amend their comprehensive plans multiple times a year. Many of those comprehensive plan amendments are specific to pieces of property. An applicant initiates something to amend the comprehensive plan for some form of development, let's say, and that gets done. And let's say that we change the future land use map, or we create some new comprehensive plan designation, and that may require changes and alterations to your land development code. But in some cases, one change in the comprehensive plan might cause a need to go back through and change the land development code in 4 or 5, 10, 12 different places. And sometimes, to be perfectly honest, Palm Beach County, in their instance, Riviera Beach in theirs, many other cities, sometimes lag behind in getting those changes done. Sometimes some of the changes are done and others are missed, and occasionally a cleanup occurs. In this case, what we have is something that's sown a bit of confusion, if you will, among the public, among interested parties, where people look at zoning designations on their property and think that that's what they can do. And yet the zoning that may be applicable to their property is completely unenforceable, because the comprehensive plan has said something else for 30 years or 40 years. So what we're talking about doing here is fixing something that was actually required by the comprehensive plan when this was adopted. Elsewhere in the plan, when this was adopted, there is a policy that says that the city is supposed to go back through and adjust its land development regulations. For whatever reason, it didn't happen. But this cleans up an area of contention. It cleans up an area of confusion, and it brings the city back into compliance with state statute, and allows the city to point to its zoning code and comprehensive plan together and say that you can or you cannot perform some particular act in terms of changing or developing property in this area. Is there another slide, Jeff? Nope. Doesn't look like it.
That was our final slide for the staff presentation. Thank you, Andy.
Thank you, Mr. Baumann. Mr. Baumann, I have a question before you turn your camera off. Is anything that this, if we adopt this ordinance, is there anything that could be construed as a taking on the part of the attorneys or whomever represents certain landowners?
Sure. The answer to that is that people will try, because people always try. But from our view, we do not believe that this amounts to a taking. And the reason for that is that we're not actually changing anything. The comprehensive plan has already had these restrictions in place on this property for 40 years. The zoning code said something else, and the zoning code, by law, in the statutes that I've shown you, was unenforceable in that respect. It's done nothing but sow confusion. So our position is that we're not adding any new restrictions to the properties. The restrictions were already in place in the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan does list the types of activities that can be undertaken and the types of development that can occur on those properties. And from the city's standpoint, if this comprehensive plan provision applies to your property, any building permit or approval that we would give you that says something different would be unenforceable and null under the law.
And in fact, Mr. Baumann, just to follow up on that, if we were to give a building permit or some permission to build on that property, by what I think you've just said was that another entity, another taxpayer could sue the city and be entitled
Another
to
resident.
another resident could sue the
Mhm.
city and be entitled to their court costs if they won.
That would be correct. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments from Mr. McCoy?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Ballman, hello, and Mr. Gagnon, hi. I was looking at the ordinance, two things, and I guess I'll ask Mr. Ballman first. So the Growth Management Act of, is it 85?
Originally, it's been amended several times, but yes.
Okay, so at what point was the preservation or special preservation adopted in our comprehensive plan? When and around what time was that?
The previous slide says 89. It's not clear to me as I'm sitting here in a hotel room talking to you guys, whether it was actually in 89 or if it was in the early 90s. But it's been in place since before the millennium.
Okay.
So decades.
Okay, and looking at the ordinance, it references the mean low water line.
Yes.
What is that? Who measures that, and how is that measured? Because I've seen that referenced a couple times. So
sure, and you've probably seen references to both the mean low water line and probably even more references to the mean high water line. And so, just so you know, those are terms of not really terms of art, but they're terms of regulation that are used by state and federal agencies, local governments, and whatnot. The mean or the average of those is actually an elevation that any surveyor can shoot in a surveying a piece of property. And in the case of the mean low water line, it is a 19-year average of low tides taken at the nearest tide station to this location. And so that line can, that elevation can change in fractions, and I'm sure with sea level rise and whatnot, that might change as well. But whether we're talking the mean low water line or the mean high water line, they call that a circadian cycle, and it's a 19-year average of the tidal information that the surveyor can collect. Any surveyor does. You see surveys all the time that contain references to the mean high water line. They can easily obtain the one for the mean low water line. But it is the average over 19 years. It is the average elevation of the land where at low tide the water starts. So at high tide, that same land would be underwater. I'm sorry, Mr. McCoy, your microphone's off.
Thank you.
Oh, okay.
One last question. So I'm looking at the ordinance, and perhaps someone can explain or speak to. There's a section that contains asterisks in the section of the ordinance that speaks to judicially determined vested rights. And I'm not sure what I understand what those asterisks mean between section 3 and section 4. Okay. Is that a placeholder or something? What exactly is that supposed to represent?
The reference to the judicially determined vested rights is actually a provision that is in the comprehensive plan itself. So the comprehensive plan, when it was adopted, contained what we refer to as a savings clause, and it basically says that the policy objective of the city to basically oppose and prevent any development of these bottomlands, submerged lands, wetlands, will not be construed or implemented to impair or preclude what they refer to as judicially determined vested rights to develop or alter submerged lands. So what that means is that that's referring to like takings liability. So when the drafters of this provision put this in here, a few decades ago, they put a like an escape hatch in it that said that, look, we realized that prior to adding this comprehensive plan provision, there were things that people who owned the property at that time could do. And we realized that after we've implemented this comprehensive plan provision, we've clearly very restricted what people can do with this same piece of land. And so back in the late 80s, early 90s, when these provisions were being put into the comprehensive plan, they added this provision that said that, look, if a court finds that you had a previous vested right to fill this land, and fill usually at this time would refer to activities in wetlands, activities on submerged land. Fill was usually referring to dumping a bunch of dirt into the water and making land. Very similar to the area at Pine Point Road going south. Enclosing it in a seawall and making new land. And what the drafters of this provision, which predates my involvement, but it's not uncommon, what they did was they recognized that when this comprehensive plan was being amended back in the 80s and 90s, that they were going to seriously alter rights that might be in place on the property, and they didn't want to be subjected to a taking. So with that in mind, if a party has a court determined that they have a pre-existing vested right to fill the submerged land, then the comprehensive plan amendment that we're talking about here does not apply to them. And that avoids the city having to incur large sums of money in terms of liability for a taking. That same savings clause language, since this zoning provision, this new zoning category is designed to do nothing but carry what's in the comprehensive plan into the zoning code and not add anything new. That savings clause was also carried into the zoning ordinance as well. So essentially, the zoning ordinance is saying that if the comprehensive plan is found not to apply to your property, then the zoning code that implements it is also found not to apply to your property. And that's designed to protect you, the city.
Anything else, Mr. McCoy?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Bowman.
Anyone else? No, nothing. Oh, Mr. Lawson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, Mr. Bowman, for the presentation as well. The zoning and the comp plan don't match. Does one have a precedence over the other?
I'm sorry, the zoning and the comp plan
do not match. Based upon them not being updated, essentially, you stated that we did not update the comprehensive plan, the zoning, once we updated the comprehensive plan.
Correct.
Does one have a precedence over the other?
Yes, the comprehensive plan by law supersedes the zoning.
Okay, so that by law supersedes. So that comprehensive plan has been updated, and that comprehensive plan reflected the special preservation. Mr. Gagnon, if you could bring up the map again. Mr. Gagnon, if you could bring up the map again of the special preservation and the change that we're looking to make. Because I had a question in reference to that. And also, Mr. Gagnon, if you could email this presentation, I didn't see it in the backup. If you could email this out to the council as well.
I think we got it from the last meeting, but we could always get it again.
Okay, perfect. So, Mr. Gagnon, the area that is currently outlined as special preservations on the proposed amendment, there's still land that is encompassed just outside of Pine Point that I'm looking at.
Correct.
What
Just
can be
north
done
of
on
Pine
that?
Point Road.
Can anything just north of Pine Point Road be done on that land that is just south of the special preservation or wetlands that's there?
So the current future land use designation would be single family residential, which would be consistent with the zoning regulations. There is a wetland section of the code that currently exists as well. So there would have to be a determination that that area does not fall within a wetland area. It's to my knowledge, mangrove forest at this point. So another code section would apply that kind of goes beyond the current future land use and zoning designation.
Have we done any studies to show that that area is wetlands?
The way that our code is set up, that burden is placed on the applicant.
Okay, so we do not know if that area is a wetlands area. Nothing has been presented to the council in reference to that land being wetlands or not.
We do have a section of the comprehensive plan that does refer to it as a wetland area. I'd have to find the specific page section, but I'd be happy to reference that and provide that to City Council as well.
Please. Now, follow up to the question, under the current comp plan, in that land that's in dispute where there are some landowners that's looking to build in that area, are those landowners able to build in that area under the current comp plan?
I think it's too general of a question. I apologize. This ordinance is more of a global impact, and I know there's a few different property owners that have expressed interest in developing properties. So I think we need to drill down on specific properties to fully answer that question.
Okay, if you could, you can remove the screen sharing, Mr. Gagnon, if you could bring the entire council back. Thank you, Mr. Gagnon. So you're saying that we would have to dig down on specific properties in that area to determine if anything can be built in that area. So as of right now, we don't have a determination if anything can or cannot be built based upon the current comp plan. But we'd have to actually give you specific parcels and lots for you to make that determination?
If I may,
Thank you, Mr. Bowman.
there appears to be only one landowner who potentially has in his hand a judicially determined pre-existing vested right to do something on that property, and it's Mr. Taylor.
Okay, so Mr. Taylor does have the ability under the current comp plan to actually build on those parcels.
To do something, but it remains but it remains subject to zoning codes, and it remains subject to state and federal regulations.
And it's at the responsibility of the applicant to provide those regulations to the city to submit application for development?
Yes. The
Okay.
comprehensive plan states that that if an individual has these judicially determined pre-existing rights to do something, that essentially they have to still obtain state and federal permits. So therefore, they would have to provide proof of that to the city.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bowman, I appreciate that. Mr. Gagnon, I actually traveled, I'm sorry, Madam Chair, if I could just have a continuation.
Sure, go right ahead.
Thank you. Mr. Gagnon, I traveled near that parcel down Pine Point, and I noticed that there was some fencing built on that parcel. Was permitting obtained for that fence that was built there? Near the wetlands, the preservation that we're looking to have
Yeah,
access.
there's a long history associated with that fence.
I just
I think we'd have to put something.
I just need the short version. Was a permit obtained for that fence?
A permit was issued and then it was repealed.
Okay, so a permit was repealed on that. So are the individuals that built that fence being cited for that fence currently?
There's currently code compliance activity associated with the fence, and we are working with the property owner to come to a resolution to the item.
Okay, how long is that going to take, Mr. Gagnon? Are we waiting to see what happens with this before that determination is made, or does one precede the other?
No, it's really dependent on the code compliance process, and I'll defer to legal on that process.
And Councilperson Lawson,
Yes.
this
Yes, sir.
this action by the council should not actually impact that fence dispute on that property.
It's difficult for me to make that vote, Mr. Bowman, though, with a should not. I need more of a definitive to understand, because our issue that we run into is we're currently in litigation, and this council recently approved a lawsuit with one of the landowners on this property of close to $800,000. And I don't want to continue to jeopardize or put the city's dollars in jeopardy with going into constant lawsuits. We cannot stop anyone from filing suit against the city. But at the same time, I just need definitive answers to be able to, in good faith, answer yay or nay in regards to this current ordinance. Okay. Well, I'm going to actually let any of my other colleagues, Madam Chair, go. I just have a few questions, though, because I can reserve some time.
Any other council people wish to have a question or comment?
Madam Chair.
Mayor Felder, thank you.
Speak, Mr. Gagnon. Did you say there was a permit for the gate and the permit was waived? What did you say about the permit for the fence?
It was issued and then rescinded.
Reason why?
Because it was determined that it was issued in error. It didn't follow the complete review process.
Mr. Gagnon, I think Ms. Busby is looking to weigh in there. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Chair Botel, and good evening, Mayor. I just want to support Mr. Gagnon's comment and say that, yes, that was rescinded. It was submitted at a time that we had the active moratorium. I'm sorry, am I not talking about the correct permit? Can you just tell me what permit exactly?
I heard Councilman Lawson ask him about the fencing of a resident. That was a permit issue. And so my question was, you saying that permit was rescinded. Who rescinded that permit? Was it the last council or?
I'm sorry, because we had applications for different fence permits. So if you could specify the actual address that we're discussing. Is it 5101 North Ocean? Is it an address?
Ms. Busby, I think he's referring to the Pine Point fence.
Okay. So yes, Development Service did rescind that permit.
Okay, Madam Chair, that's it for me.
Thank you, Mayor. Anyone else? Mr. Lawson, you had some more questions? Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Bowman, the concern or the reason that I actually want to know about these parcels, and well, first thing about the zoning, if anything preceded the other, or if we had to go with the comp or the zoning plan, and you said that the comp did supersede the zoning plan, I want to make sure that we're put in a position that we're legally sound. We're not going to jeopardize any taxpayers and taxpayers' dollars when it comes to potential lawsuit. My concern tonight is that there is one landowner that has the ability or the possibility to develop in that area or that parcel that will be affected by this property. And if we pass this ordinance today, will that remove his ability to be able to develop on that parcel?
No.
So he can still develop as long as he gets the proper regulations from the states and brings that over to the city for approval.
And meets the city's zoning code, not the code that we're amending today, but other provisions of the city zoning code.
Okay. So the zoning code has no effect on that individual landowner.
This zoning change should not be affecting that landowner, no.
Okay. So go ahead, Madam Chair.
I just want to be sure that you're speaking about the same individual.
I'm referring to Mr. Taylor.
And Mr. Lawson is referring to Mr. Lozman.
No, I'm not, Madam Chair. I'm sorry,
okay,
Madam Chair. I was not referring to any individual person. I was referring to the landowners of all the parcels in that area. And
you were saying one landowner. I assumed you meant Mr. Lawson because Mr. Baumann already confirmed the fact that Mr. Taylor is not affected at all by this. So that's why I
Yeah, and I'm sorry, Councilperson Lawson.
Go ahead, Mr. Bowman.
When you had said one landowner, I assumed you were referring to Mr. Taylor, who's sort of occupies a unique position here.
Well, you stated that there's only one landowner in that area that can develop and build something, as you stated.
Right.
Well,
okay. So
that is outside of or does not have this comprehensive plan provision applied to him.
Understood. And
so other owners do something, but perhaps not as much as Mr. Taylor can do.
Understood. So, and I want to make sure that the residents understand that Mr. Taylor still has the ability to develop on his parcel as long as he provides and obtains. Correct. So as long as he follows the rules. So this ordinance is not stopping anything from Mr. Taylor's parcels. And in addition to the other parcels, I believe Dr. Votel requested or asked in reference to a taking. I wanted to address that concern as well, because I want to make sure that we're not getting into a position where this could be considered a taking of anyone's property with changing these preservations. So I really want to understand that before we go to vote a little bit more in depth.
Okay.
Because as of right now, the parcels seem as if we're going to change a zoning to match our comp plan, and that was essentially an error that was missed years ago when the comprehensive plan was updated. Now, the individuals that purchased the land in that area is not at fault for the error made by the city. But at the same time, if that comp plan will not allow for them to develop or never has allowed for them to develop, why is there so much of a question in regards to development of that parcel? And I'm not sure if that's rhetorical, if that's a question that we could possibly give an answer for, but I just want to understand if that land could never be developed, why are we having discussions and concerns with residents in regards to that property being developed?
Well, I think what we've seen is, the comprehensive plan and the zoning code are both public regulations available to everybody, puts the world on notice as to what you can or cannot do on a piece of property. You should be looking at both of those when you purchase a piece of property. However, in a case like this where you have the two different codes maybe saying two different things, it appears that it creates confusion on the part of maybe landowners, maybe residents, maybe even city staff in the town, what can be allowed. And that's why they're supposed to be consistent so that you don't have this confusion. In the case of Mr. Taylor, that property has been owned in one form or another by the family and passed down in what I'll call less than arm's length transactions, turned into trusts and whatnot, long before the comprehensive plan came along. Many of the other properties were purchased long after the comprehensive plan came along by essentially strangers to the land, strangers to the transaction, who were under the same sort of obligations of diligence that, say, you or I or anyone else would be in buying a piece of land to gain what we call a reasonable investment-backed expectation, that's taking language, as to what you could put on that land. So there are cases out there that suggest that you cannot honestly come in and buy a piece of land, let's say in the middle of the Everglades, and say, I'm going to build a high-rise condo, and I paid a lot of money, and you're not going to let me, and that's taking. And the courts go, wait a second, you can't come in and buy something that's been subject to these kinds of restrictions for whatever, and then honestly tell the court that you had a reasonable investment-backed expectation that you would be able to do that. So what we have been careful to try to do with this ordinance is simply remove the questions, if you will, or remove the confusion, not to add any new restrictions to this property, but simply just make the two of them sync up, to remove the doubt, remove anything like that.
Understood, Mr. Bowman. Thank you. And I guess my concern is that when was the comprehensive plan updated to reflect a special preservation? Do we know when that update was completed?
Like I said, the slide that I saw there said 89, but I frankly thought it was the 1990s.
90s. All right, so almost 30 years that it's not matched, the zoning and the comp plan is not matched. Okay, my concerns are that we're rushing through putting and updating this comp plan and jeopardizing or putting the city in danger in regards to potential lawsuits. There is one landowner that won't be affected by this, but still has the potential to develop his land. I never want to sit or operate in fear of having a lawsuit come against the city, but I want to make the proper decisions to protect us from the potential and have all the proper answers in place. Documentation and information is just all that I need to say, hey, somebody giving me definitive answers that we can do this, we cannot do this, and I'm trusting staff. I kind of want to ask Mr. Sermons, not to put you on the spot, but just to ask you if you've had an opportunity to review this, all this information.
Yes, I have been brought into the conversations related to two properties in particular in this area. It has been brought to my attention that there have been some code violations, as well as some issues with permits being attained on the property. Those permits were since rescinded, as was said previously. From what I have heard and gathered and understood to the issues related to the owners there, what Mr. Bauman has said is correct. That there is potential, yes, that the city could be liable for litigation if the zone change takes place. However, if it does not take place, the city is just as open for litigation. So I think the council may need to just balance which risks they think are greater there. However, the state law does say that we should make sure these two documents are consistent with one another.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Mr. Sermons. What I would ask is that my concern right now is that we're pushing through with this change in this ordinance during a pandemic where there's certain information that we do not have right now. The wetland study, I know Mr. Gagnon said that's the responsibility of the landowner to provide, but based upon what we're currently going through and the discussions that we've had, and an ordinance, a zoning and comp plan that hasn't matched for 30 years, I want to make sure that we just take the right steps, the proper steps before passing this ordinance. One of the things that I did ask prior was that could anything be developed on this land as of the current states? And if nothing can be developed, why is it that we're pushing through with this change without having all of the information in place? I would love to see us invest into a study to determine the wetlands for that area prior to us passing this ordinance, and just taking our time with getting this done and doing it the right way, because I just don't want to put us liable for another suit that we may not even be in office to actually deal with, where our taxpayers are still going to be responsible for, and we just have to protect them. So to rush and push this through, when I actually requested, when this moratorium was first granted, a workshop to discuss this, which was never obtained in the 12 months that we've had this moratorium. My first concern was not of the development of the property, but just to protect all residents across the entire city. I know our residents on Pine Point have had detailed conversations with them in the development of that location, but the only thought process that I have is that I don't want to jeopardize the integrity of the city, of this council, in regards to putting us up against the potential lawsuits. So those were my thoughts, and that was my feedback, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a question again. I've asked it before. I'll ask it again, and then I'll get you, Mr. McCoy. I saw your hand. So, Mr. Baumann, just to be clear, the city is at risk of a lawsuit coming from the, I don't know how many people live along Pine Point. I'm going to guess 30. Many of them lawyers themselves. The city would be at risk of having a lawsuit brought against us if we allowed someone to act in opposition to what's in the comprehensive plan, and we could be at risk there as well. Am I right, Mr. Baumann? Yes, thank you. And it's been about 30 years since we have had the special preservation area in place, and we have been remiss as a city. And I'm not sure where we got the idea that we're rushing into this if it's been 30 years, and we are required to bring the zoning into compliance with the comprehensive plan. Am I right, Mr. Baumann? We're required by law to bring the zoning into compliance. Mr. Baumann?
Yes, ma'am. You're required by the statute that I cited, as well as the comprehensive plan itself,
right,
which actually stated that by 2010, the city shall adopt land development regulations addressing the use of the bottomlands for the purposes listed above, which are compatible with the city's preservation policies.
Okay. And am I right in saying that anybody who purchased land subsequent to the enactment of the comprehensive plan should have done his due diligence and investigated and found that he couldn't, in fact, develop on that land because it was special preservation? Am I right about that?
That is generally the law. Both you and Councilperson Lawson have been asking a lot of questions about taking law, and I just want both of you to bear in mind on that. The reason I can't, the reason I'm reluctant to give definitive answers on anything is that the first rule that the United States Supreme Court has set out on taking law, going back a couple of hundred years now, is that a takings case is judged each and every time
on the merits of that case.
Each case is unique, and takings law can have a lot of twists and turns to it based upon the particular circumstances that are at issue in that case. There are no hard and fast rules, or there are darn few of them.
Okay.
But you are correct that if a stranger to a transaction comes in and buys land that has been subject to publicly available, publicly enacted regulations that say you can't do something, and then proceeds to argue that he has a taking because he can't do what has been on the books for a number of years, there are a couple of United States Supreme Court cases that kind of call that like coming to the nuisance, if you will.
Right. Okay. Mr. McCoy had a question. Then I wanted to ask the clerk, did we have any public comments for general public comments? Madam Clerk. Your sound is not on, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In looking at the email address for public comments, where public comments are received, there are currently no general public comments. However, that could change.
Well, it's, it's 8:29. Can we close public comments so that we don't have any?
Board,
Sorry.
if that is the desire of the board.
We've never taken a vote on that before. It's after the time for public comments are usually at 7:30. It's 8:30 now. Ms. Miller Anderson.
But typically, we don't cut it off until we announce that we're going to do them. I mean, obviously, we can do whatever we want to do, I would imagine, but normally we don't cut it off unless we're about to start it. That's typically when we cut it off. We start reading it.
So are you saying that we should have to vote to cut it off? We don't usually do that.
I'm saying that we don't normally cut the acceptance of public comment cards off until we start reading them. So if we don't start reading them like last time, we didn't read them till midnight. So we didn't cut it off until midnight.
Okay, all right, okay, Mr. McCoy.
And then typically we don't stop in the middle of an
I just
item.
I didn't want to go too far past the time and forget about it because I've done that too. Thank you, Mr. McCoy.
Thank you. Mr. Gagnon, so the discussion regarding enacting zoning changes to make it consistent with the comprehensive plan, that has been a conversation that has been occurring at least for 4 years, correct? At least since 2017, I want to say, right? At least internally.
Yeah, that's correct. And I also want to just clarify for the record that this ordinance doesn't propose any amendments to the comprehensive plan. The amendments that are proposed within this ordinance would be to create that zoning district and also amend the zoning map.
Okay. All right. So I guess I was kind of uncertain as to, I guess, Councilman Pro Tem Lawson's concerns about rushing it, but perhaps is there something that can be done in the interim between first and second reading as far as providing some additional information? Because, I didn't know that it was anything, I guess, left outstanding, but I know that there had been some conversations, and at least, I think I had at least heard about it. I know I heard about it in 2017, 2018. So I didn't know it was something that we rushed to judgment. And obviously the last year and a half, I do recall us having a conversation about having a workshop. But I think it was kind of in defense of the process, but this has been discussed at length, at least in the Planning and Zoning Board. I think probably again tonight because we got some of those same comments. But I don't know, unless there's something specific, Pro Tem, that you were looking for. I don't know what would necessarily constitute a rush. So, because I've heard about it at least for some time now.
Thank you, Mr. McCoy. I haven't heard
we've had the discussion. Sorry, Madam Chair. Go ahead.
Ms. Lanier, did you want to make a comment? I saw a motion and I didn't. Go ahead.
I just wanted to make the comment that the city is basically looking to, have some uniformity and consistency, with the comp plan, and it's completely within our purview to do that. And it's not unusual that inconsistencies exist in comp plans, especially for this long. It happens all the time. I just think that, we need to be decision makers and we need to make a decision tonight. We have had this discussion at this level. We've had this discussion at the planning and zoning level. And I think that based on the work that's been presented tonight, in terms of especially the comments that Mr. Sermons made in terms of weighing out our risk, either way, people sue the city because they hit a pothole. So it's not as if, making a decision about this is going to stave off any litigation. Or not making the decision is not going to stave off any litigation. I just think that at this point, given the fact that we have had this conversation, we've had to move it to a special meeting because people are interested in what is happening with this. And tonight is the night that we make the decision, at least on the first reading. And any concerns or any issues that any other council people may have can be addressed in between that time for our second meeting. But I think tonight is the night that we need to make a decision about ensuring that there is no inconsistency and there is no way to be able to, look at this a different way. If we ensure that there is no consistency, then that's that. We can do that. And I just think we need to move forward to whatever issues that any other council people may have to be addressed in the interview.
Thank you, Ms. Lanier. Anyone else? Now, I have a question for Ms. Nguyen. If we voted to read any comment that had exceeded the 1 minute mark, if we read comments that the clerk identifies as those that have exceeded the 1 minute and we miss someone, what liability do we have?
I don't believe that the clerk will miss anyone. I think there were only about 5 or so of them. And there's no liability,
Okay,
I mean, that I can think of.
Good. All right. Ms. Anthony, do you want to read those now?
Yes, Madam Chair, for the record, there are 11 public comments that exceeded the 1 minute mark. Are we reading these for 3 minutes?
Yeah, I guess we're reading them for 3 minutes. That's our typical. Ms. Miller Anderson.
Is that what Mr. Lawson was asking for it to be read in its entirety? Or
No, I was allowing for the 3 minute comment because I know we limited it to 1, but if it actually exceeds the 3 minutes, I would not actually be inclined to completing the entire email.
Okay.
Okay, so we're reading the comment from Barsh K at gtlaw.com, who indicates, on behalf of my clients, I am attaching a letter in opposition to the Special Preservation Zoning District that is scheduled for consideration tonight by the City Council. Because the meeting is virtual, please read the letter into the record at the appropriate time of the agenda of tonight's council meeting. And it reads, City Council members, 600 West Blue Heron Boulevard, Riviera Beach, Ms. Dawn Nguyen, City Attorney, 600 West Blue Heron Boulevard, opposition to proposed Special Preservation Zoning District ordinance. Dear members of the City Council and City Attorney, I am writing on behalf of Halo Development, LLC, Fane Losman and Renegade Trust 2, the owners of real property located within the geographic area of the proposed Special Preservation Zoning District Ordinance 4133, and more particularly described in Exhibit A to this letter. Together, Halo, Fane Losman, and Renegade Trust 2 own approximately 51 acres of land, which accounts for 20% or more of the area of the lots included in such proposed change to the Special Preservation Zoning District, City of Riviera Beach Code, Section 31-5, 2019. Halo previously placed the City of Riviera Beach on notice and does so here again, that the adoption of rezoning ordinance or ordinances that will modify current RS5 zoning to special preservation will result in a regulatory taking. Members of Halo, as well as a majority of landowners whose properties will be affected by the rezoning, oppose the modification. Dating back to the original TIIFD number 17,146, from which private landowners took ownership of the property at issue, there is a clear and unambiguous line of legal authority that these landowners have the right to bulkhead and fill the subject properties without permission from the City of Riviera Beach. The city's own current zoning plans reflecting residential zoning, the city's plans to bulkhead the westernmost boundary of the area at issue, and the city's decision not to delineate the area as a wetland preservation area all point to the city's admission that this area was free to be developed as originally contemplated in the original TIF deed. The passage of a special preservation ordinance does not trump the rights of these landowners to bulkhead and fill the subject properties. The city will soon find itself with a bulkheaded and filled area of special preservation land, and citizens will be on the hook to pay hundreds of millions of dollars in damages for its regulatory taking. Halo requests that the next public comment comes from Charles Lewis, Chuck Lewis 39 at hotmail.com. The short version. The vote of the City of Riviera Beach Planning and Zoning Board was unanimous, 7-0 in favor of the motion for a special preservation district. I urge you to approve the zoning for, in all caps, the new special preservation zoning district, in all caps, to match the city's comprehensive plan, in all caps. Better version. Many people see nature as an expanse of greenery, a view of trees, or a view of water. The view of water is usually the surface that is less than 1% of a lake, river, ocean, or an inlet. Nature is much more than this. You have to go below the surface of water to see nature. However, even the surface of the water can bring a sense of well-being to urban dwellers. Notable architects such as Le Corbusier, Corbusier, and Frank Lloyd Wright were visionaries who argued that urban dwellers needed nature for inspiration. City and urban dwellers can live in complex towers, but they need nature around these towers. This concept was lost on the east side of North Ocean Drive, where condominiums were placed elbow to elbow in parentheses, in quotation marks, with little space in between. Nature was treated as a set of discrete resources to be managed and used, and not as a living system for well-being and inspiration. This lack of insight by past developers and politicians will not be corrected, but current politicians have a chance to protect the west side of North Ocean Drive before developers add to the overpopulation of a barrier island that lies in a hurricane lane 6 months of the year. The current pandemic adds a preview of the problems the world will have to deal with due to climate change and overpopulation and lack of sustainability. Riviera Beach politicians have the opportunity to correct a significant potential human problem that should have been dealt with decades ago. Do not waste this opportunity. Vote for, in all caps, the new Special Preservation Zoning District, in all caps, to match the city's comprehensive plan, in all caps. Charles Lewis, PhD, 1241 Pine Point Road, Singer Island. The next public comment is Matt Lynch, computer service at att.net. Please approve the zoning to special preservation status to match the city's comprehensive plan. Additionally, the city hired attorney Andy Bauman, who in a workshop meeting addressed the city council and explained the comprehensive plan is of the highest level, and it doesn't matter that the zoning doesn't match. It's just a technicality that should be done. He also stated if anything happens in this submerged land area that is contrary to the comprehensive plan, residents can sue and be reimbursed for their legal fees. So council members shouldn't worry about one or two submerged land owners possibly suing. Rather, the council members should be very aware that if anything happens contrary to the comprehensive plan, the thousands of residents on Singer Island are well organized and have the right to sue and have been promised legal help if needed from various turtle, manatee, fishing, and environmental groups. Make sure you vote to keep this pristine area for generations. It affects the fishing that all residents use throughout the entire lagoon, as this area is documented breeding ground for many endangered species and the only area of high-density seagrass in the entire lagoon. Matt Lynch, 1111 Pine Point Road, Riviera Beach. Rex Cox, and the email address is rexryx@gmail.com. Dear City Council, the City Council should reject the zoning change for the Singer Island Lagoon properties that city staff recommends for approval. Instead, the city council should change the comprehensive plan from special preservation to single-family residential. The city council needs to consider that by changing the zoning for the lagoon properties, the city will be put at risk of financial ruin when these property owners sue the city for taking away their development rights. I have researched the matter, and all of the houses and condos on the north side of Singer Island were built on property that was sold by the state of Florida 100 years ago. Almost all of the properties sold by the state has already been developed, and the remaining portion are owned by some very wealthy individuals. These individuals, led by Mr. Lozman, will fight this out in court for years to come and can easily bankrupt the city with a huge judgment when they win. Their properties in the lagoon, if they are developed, will be worth in the hundreds of millions of dollars, and a court judgment for hundreds of millions of dollars will be horrible for the West Side residents. Plus, the attorney's fees that the city will have to pay will be in the millions of tens of millions of dollars. Why should the West Side residents have to waste their tax dollars fighting this in court just because the home and condo owners around the Singer Island Lagoon do not want anyone to build in front of them? This country was built on private property rights, and to take away anyone's private property rights is a dumb decision to make. The city will be facing tougher times with the coronavirus, and we need all property tax dollars we can get. The lagoon properties need to be developed, and by keeping the zoning residential instead of changing it to preservation, there will be hundreds of millions of dollars in new development. To throw that new property tax money away just because some spoiled Singer Island property owners want you to is wrong and makes no sense. Please do not let us get into another legal battle with Lozman and his friends. That guy won 2 Supreme Court cases against us. We cannot afford to fight another legal fight that the city will surely lose. Thank you, Rex Cox. Matthew KWIATKOWSKI. Email address Matt KWIAT@gmail.com. Please pass the Special Preservation District to match the comprehensive plan in all caps. My wife and I have been residents of Riviera Beach for just over 5 years. And during this time, we have come to realize that this city is unmatched with all its diversity and abundance of beauty. You, as the council, have a duty not only to Singer Island residents, but to all those who reside in our city to protect its unique and irreplaceable environment. I know that city council members can come and go, and that it's not a lifetime appointment, but your predecessors had the insight and fortitude to put in place this wonderful comprehensive plan that included creating this special preservation area. Personally, our decision to buy this property was heavily influenced by the protection provided by the comprehensive plan. And I know from firsthand accounts that many other residents expect that this pristine area will be protected. This almost goes without saying, let alone debating within council chambers. Excuse me. I encourage you to stand your ground on the strong legal basis created by your predecessors. A single litigious would-be developer should not hold you hostage. We in the city of Riviera Beach have lots to lose if we allow for any development on the Lake Worth Lagoon. Degradation in ecology and natural beauty would bring tremendous loss to the entire city and to the value of our property. Be assured that we will hold the city responsible if you allow for any development now or in the future in this sensitive area. The submerged lands in the area north of Pine Point Road and west of North Ocean Drive were purchased for very little money, as it was understood that they had no development value. As it stands today, all the owners of these parcels between 3.5 acres and some as large as 23 acres, in parentheses, pay around $250 per parcel in taxes. I think that the city assigns this low valuation and low taxes that come with it in light of the lack of development possibility. There is considerable and tangible value to the city because of the preservation of the natural beauty and recreation opportunities afforded to all Riviera Beach residents. Thank you, Matthew, KWIATKOWSKI, 10th 1071 Pine Point Road, Riviera Beach. The next comment, Libby Ryan, email address libco129@att.net. My husband and I own property on Singer Island since 2008. His father first bought a condominium in the city in 1978. It has been exciting to see the enthusiasm of Riviera Beach residents having a voice in continued development and beautification of the city. Many residents and visitors have commented how much nicer the city is than it was years ago. More than ever, it's important to continue the improvement and preservation of all aspects of the city's footprint. The coastal ecosystem of Riviera Beach is important to the entire city for numerous reasons. First of all, coastal ecosystems are habitats that are spawning grounds for many different species. They are also the home to numerous kinds of plants. Like any ecosystem, when one aspect is damaged, everything else is affected. Pollution of our coastal environment limits the ability for residents to use beaches for economic, recreational, and aesthetic purposes. Pollution degrades and destroys the unique beach habitat used by animals and plants and can reduce existing property values and inhibit economic growth of the surrounding community. Any alteration of the water surrounding the city can also have a detrimental effect on Phil Foster Park, which was named in 2013 as the best dive site in the world by Patty's Sports Diver magazine, and draws enthusiasts who frequent restaurants, gas stations, and other businesses while they are in the city. We support this creation of the Special Preservation District to coincide with the city's comprehensive plan and ask the council to vote in favor of this proposal. We also respectfully ask that this email be read into the record on June 17th meeting. Sincerely, Libby and Tony Ryan, 3000 North Ocean Drive, 41B, Riviera Beach. The next comment, Craig White, email address whitecraigm@gmail.com. We request the following message of support for the creation, the Special Preservation District for the Lake Worth Lagoon be read into the record. We live in Connemara condominium on Singer Island at 5420 North Ocean Drive in a unit that faces Lake Worth Lagoon. Thank you for removing the floating houseboat that was there. We were saddened every time we looked out our window and saw how it marred the natural beauty of the lagoon. We watch the sunset on the lagoon every evening and especially enjoy watching the migratory birds that make the lagoon their home during the winter. We strongly support the effort to prevent the presence of unsightly, ecologically damaging structures to ever be built on this naturally beautiful lagoon. Thank you, Craig and Raina White, 5420 North Ocean Drive, Unit 905, Singer Island. Next, Peter Rosenfield, Peter at prcinc.co.uk. We visited Riviera Beach / Singer Island, has vacationers more than 10 years and love the lagoon / bay, ocean, and everything the area offered. In 2017, we purchased a condo to reside and have a special place to visit for our family for many years to come. We were very dismayed to hear about proposals to develop parts of the area and are very concerned that this will not just affect the natural beauty and marine life that habits the area, but long-term property values. Our family 100% support the creation of the Special Preservation District to coincide with the city's comprehensive plan. Thank you, Peter and Amanda Rosenfeld family. 9D 5550 North Ocean Drive, Riviera Beach. Sincerely, Peter Rosenfeld. The next comment comes from Jamie Lehman. Email address jamiel40@comcast.net. Dear City Council, when considering zoning changes to the Singer Island Lagoon, could you kindly consider the possible implementation of a city fish farm as noted in the link below? We need to help our community in meaningful long-term ways. Website www.cityfarmfish.com. We are City Farm Fish. We are a highly motivated team looking to transform cities around the world with urban agriculture and aquaponics. Over the past 10 years, we have been working in horticulture, engineering, architecture, law, business development, fundraising, and marketing. It would be wonderful for our residents to have a more secure and sustainable food supply. I would even ask that Fane Logsman see if he can participate or contribute in some way to make it a win-win with his endeavors. Perhaps the produce aspect of the city fish farm could be on the rooftops of floating homes. What's wrong with a charming Sausalito, California look in the lagoon that at the same time supplies healthy food for distribution throughout the city? There's no reason that anyone in our city should go hungry. We can help ourselves if we focus. Often the same people who mention environmental aspects of development are the very same ones who are spewing toxins from their boats into the water and proudly telling their friends that they went diving at the wreck site where a Rolls Royce has been dumped into the ocean off of Palm Beach. Website www.palmbeachguide.com/blog/rolls-reef. Hunks of metal in the water are good things there, but somehow bad in other places. Seems like hypocrisy, just my 2 cents. And last, James Ryan, email address jdr@ryanlawgroup.net. Apparently, the city is being advised the law requires the city to rezone and take this private property. We all know that state and U.S. constitutions require a payment when a taking occurs. When the city adopted the future land use plan, it did so with a savings clause, and it relied on that in court to avoid having to buy the land at that time. Can the city lawfully reject the county's plan and keep the underlying RS5 zoning? If not, can the city adopt this new zoning with another savings clause, or can it look to the county for indemnification? What steps has the city taken to determine what this will cost and how it will be paid for? Isn't it true this cost will have to be added to our tax bills? The city adopted Code Section 31-118 that sets forth the minimum lot size for this 150-acre parcel. It requires 8,000 square feet, except where any lagoon, etc., is filled after December 6, 1989. In this case, it requires a minimum dry lot size of 1 acre. Has the city evaluated how many 1 acre lots could feasibly be developed along A1A and Pine Point Road, and what the value of each 1 acre waterfront lot would be? Simple math for 100 feet wide lots shows that about 70 of these large waterfront lots could be developed. Because the land was sold by the state with the right to fill and dredge, each of these large lots could offer sheltered dockage with deep water ocean access. If so, an average value of $6 million per lot would not be surprising. Factoring in that it might only cost a few $100,000 to bulkhead and fill each of these lots, the net value of each lot taken could be over $5,600,000. Under this scenario, the cost of adopting this new zoning would approach $400 million before interest, finance charges, legal fees, and costs. On the other hand, if those lots were improved and the dredge rights were used to make the property suitable for ocean-going boats, the tax base from those homes would be $600 or $700 million. Can the city really afford to spend all of this money, take this property, and to forego all this tax revenue those homes will generate? Does the city council really think it is fair, just, and wise to do this just to protect a view for the people that now live by the lagoon and who failed and refused to buy it themselves? Adopting this new zoning would cost the city's taxpayers $30 million per year for the next 20 years. Almost all of this will be paid by property owners that do not have any view of the lagoon. How many of the city council members have asked their friends and family if they're cool with having their real estate tax bills go up by several $100s per year for the Madam Chair, that concludes public comment.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Any other comments from council or the mayor?
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you so much. Mr. Bowman, if you're still on the line.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Bowman. There were a couple comments. We discussed takings. There were a couple comments where we discussed takings earlier. And in reference to the takings, there was one comment that actually specifically stood out, which was Attorney Barsh. I'm not sure if you heard that comment, but he was discussing that I believe Halo had the right to develop their land and fill the bulkhead, and then the city should determine if the wetlands, if where the wetlands actually are. Would you be able to comment or respond to those comments by that attorney?
Well, I think the comments there are Halo has no judicially determined right to bulkhead and fill that pre-exists the comp plan. As far as I can tell, Halo, Renegade Trust, all of these entities came along and bought this property with the comprehensive plan in place. Unlike, for example, Mr. Taylor, whose family owned the property in various stages of trust and whatnot, going back to the goodness, I think like the 20s. So I don't agree with that that statement as a categorical statement by Ms. Barsh. The other comment about delineating the wetlands, I'm not sure that the two are necessarily related at this point. There is a provision in the comp plan that deals with wetland mapping and whatnot. That's not necessarily the same thing that we're talking about here today. Some of the state agencies do have mechanisms by which wetlands can be essentially formally delineated for purposes of permitting and wetland mapping. Many of the agencies actually maintain maps of wetlands over time. But of course, as you all know, wetlands, they change, they move, things change. Right now, what the city requires is that they have a provision in their code that says that you're not supposed to put things inside of a wetland. You're supposed to honor a wetland buffer. And now we're talking outside of this particular ordinance. But an applicant bears the burden of demonstrating that they meet the city's code. If an applicant provides city staff with information on a piece of property and all you have to do is look at a photograph and it's all mangrove, well, mangroves grow in wetlands. That usually precipitates a comment back, gee, this all looks like wetlands. Can you provide me something that shows why it's not, considering that, you know, things are there. But I'm not sure that this delineation of wetlands is the same subject that we're dealing with tonight. That may be dealing with a separate provision in the comp plan and the code.
Okay, perfect. So I guess, and Councilman McCoy made a comment in reference to saying that he heard about this about 4 years ago. And being that I've been serving on this council for 15 months, my thought process is when this moratorium came, I requested that we have a special workshop to hear all the information. We haven't heard from the DEP, we haven't heard from the EPA, we haven't heard from Army Corps of Engineers. I would have requested a special preservation study be done during this time frame. And these are the things that I requested when we first asked for this moratorium 12 months ago. And the reason that I'm telling you that this is rushed is because that information was not given to us, nor has that workshop been provided. We've heard from Mr. Bowman, and we've had this discussion with Mr. Gagnon, but I want to have enough information to protect and safeguard the city. And the report from Mr. Bowman is solid and strong. At the same time, I would love to have additional studies providing to protect us from any potential lawsuits. And that's why I would have requested to have these studies. And that's why I can't support the ordinance. And also, I believe Councilwoman Lanier stated that there were inconsistencies, and there's always inconsistencies within this comp plan and with the zoning. And I've addressed this comprehensive plan. I think we need to go ahead and take a hard look because we're addressing just one inconsistency when there's so many within our comp plan. And we have to really bring the total comp plan back to the table to address all of the inconsistencies so that we don't put ourselves in this position again. because whether we're being sued by our residents or landowners, I don't want us to be put in that predicament to where we're jeopardizing any resident or any taxpayer's dollars. So I guess the only concern that I have is that I understand that we are having this discussion tonight, and I'm very supportive of protecting our lands and protecting our wetlands and protecting this lagoon. I am completely supportive of us putting these preservations and putting the special preservation in place as long as we have all the proper information, but I still don't believe we have it. And I would love to protect that lagoon in any way possible. But we just need the studies for us to have, to review, and to safeguard so that 5, 10, 15 years down the line, if this goes up to the Supreme Court again and a certain individual tries to sue the city for a third time, I don't want to be the person that we lose for the third time against in the Supreme Court. So right now, we need to take the proper steps of having all of the information. That's my concern. But colleagues, those are my comments.
Thank you, Mr. Lawson. Mr. McCoy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Lawson, I respectfully hear what you're saying, but at what point do those regulatory agencies that you mentioned have any jurisdiction on our local zoning code? Obviously, if
No
there's
jurisdiction at all.
Okay, but specifically, when it comes to studies, I don't know that any study that they would do would be able to, I mean, obviously you got DEP, Department of Environmental Protection, Army Corps of Engineers. I don't know if there's any others, but those are the main two that come to mind. But I don't know what specifically they would be able to do to impact our local zoning regulations, or why it would even impact. In fact, if you look at it like this, I think Mr. Bauman's hierarchy, or basically the matrix of, or pecking order, if you will, would probably put DEP and Army Corps of Engineers above our comprehensive plan, so that, you know, if any regulations are not consistent with their regulations, then that would not even, in my opinion, be issued a permit. So, you know, I mean, I certainly respect your concerns, but I don't know how that's germane to this subject.
In reference, and if I can respond, Madam Chair, it'd be in providing and obtaining supportive documentation to protect the city for future lawsuits. And that would be additional information into Mr. Bowman, along with our studies from our DEP and EPA, to allow for them to see that these are the studies that we've requested that's actually support this zoning ordinance that we put in place.
Thank you, Mr. Lawson. You know, it's clear to me that you have made up your mind and you've said so. So I think it's incumbent on us, unless there's some other comment. My last comment will be that the math that I did counts the yays, let's see, counts the nays in this against this ordinance at 1.94%. Not even 2% of the people who responded are against this. And I think the will of the people has spoken, and I'm ready for us to take a vote. Madam Clerk.
Councilperson McCoy?
Yes.
Councilperson Miller Anderson?
No.
Councilperson Lanier?
Yes.
Pro Tem Lawson?
No.
Chair Botel?
Yes.
That motion is approved with Councilpersons Lawson and Miller Anderson dissenting.
Thank you. Okay. We had no public comments, but can we close public comments now and get that off the table?
Madam Chair, we do have public comment at this time.
Oh, all right, let's hear the public comment.
Madam Chair, you would need to read that section into the record, please.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. I will right now. Sorry. Any member of the public wishing to comment publicly on any matter, including items on the agenda, shall submit their comments by email to City Clerk Claudine Anthony at publiccomments@rivierbeach.org. The email shall contain the applicable agenda item numbers, along with the precise wording to be read into the record. Explicit language will not be read. Emails without applicable agenda item numbers will be read under the general public comment section. Be advised, public comments will be accepted for each applicable item and the general public comment section until closure is announced by the chairperson or the city clerk. All email addresses and submitted comments are and will be public records. The city clerk clerk or designee will read public comments into the record at the appropriate time for no more than 3 minutes unless the time limit is reduced by a vote of the City Council based on the voluminous nature of the number of public comments received. If you have any questions, please contact the City Clerk's office at 561-845-4090 or email crobinson@rivierabeach.org.
Madam, the acceptance of public comments for the general public section of the agenda is now closed. We have a comment from Susan Bennett, email address sbennett10h@msn.com. Thank you to all who made the 4th of July fireworks display one of the best ever. The back porch plan was a fantastic alternative and may be worthy of considering in future celebration planning. Susan Bennett. And before, Madam Chair, that completes our public comments for the evening.
Thank you. Do we have any? We don't have any. So discussion by city manager.
Madam Chair, members of the board, I do not have nothing this evening.
Thank you. City attorney.
No comments. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. City council committee reports. None. I have a brief one from the tourism committee, and if anybody else has them from those particular committees, we should take them at this time. I've been working with Discover the Palm Beaches, and we're becoming a partner in their Partners in Tourism project, and we'll be doing some research, visitor research, so we have a better idea of what areas to target in our marketing. We've been reviewing the city's webpage to identify those hospitality businesses that are still active to be sure that our webpage is correct. We closed the road, as many of you may know, at the Ocean Walk Mall to allow the restaurants to have more room for outside dining. And we're working with the CRA on getting tents for those restaurants so they can expand their outside dining, given the uptick in the COVID-19 cases. That's really important for us. With regard to the Marine Industry Committee, I've had several meetings with the core team, and I've planned a large meeting for about 30 marine industry leaders in Riviera Beach to discuss a variety of topics, including, well, I won't go into those. Any other committee reports? Discussions by City Council and the Mayor, starting with the Mayor?
No comments, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Mr. McCoy?
No, I was going to defer until next week to bring up my committee report. So I have nothing. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lawson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just wanted to let all our residents know that we're always just going to be supportive of a process in place. And there were certain things that were requested of staff to complete for this ordinance and during this moratorium that I didn't see completed, and that I would have been more comfortable with voting for yes to move forward with this ordinance if they were completed. The studies that needed to be done and certain information that I would have liked to hear from, I didn't actually receive at the time. So that's why I wasn't supportive, but I'm absolutely supportive in protecting our wetlands and protecting our lagoon. So I want to make sure that our residents understand that I want to protect all of the land in our community, but I want to make the right decision. So thank you, colleagues, and thank you for the meeting tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Lawson. Mr. Lawson, could I ask that you make a specific list of your requests so that staff understands exactly what it is you're looking for before the next reading?
I can actually do that right now if you indulge me.
Well, I don't know that we have to necessarily take the time tonight, but I'm sure that staff would love to know specifically what it is you want. So if you just
I just don't
send
think
me
I can give. I can't give direction outside of our meeting. That's the only issue that I have, Madam Chair. So I can send them an email, but my request will not be allowed to be fulfilled without actually doing it in public meeting.
Well, go ahead and let us hear what you want then.
Oh, thank you, Madam Chair. My original request was to complete a workshop. I don't believe within the next 2 weeks we'll have the time to do a workshop, but I do think that we have one next week, a weekend workshop. I wasn't sure if this is an item that would be able to be presented at that workshop, or if we have space on the agenda, Mr. Evans, to discuss this item. Having studies completed by the EPA and DEP, and also Army Corps of Engineers, to take a look at this parcel and to see what we're actually trying to do with the changes to our zoning and our comp plan, and to make sure that we're not in violation of the taking, to get support from Mr. Bowman's process. And then also Mr. Sermons, I wanted to get him caught up on the process of what everything is done with this property. He's pretty savvy on everything that's happened, but I'd love for his report, because everything's been done with Mr. Gagnon over the last 2 years on this parcel, So I really wanted to make sure that he was able to review and give a comprehensive report on everything as well. So those were the 4 things that I would like to see.
Mr. Evans, are you clear on those?
Yes, Madam Chair. I'll get with staff first thing in the morning and we can see what we can do to facilitate the workshop discussion. Most likely, since we're in a digital world, I would recommend that we do look to have that workshop separate and apart from the discussion that we will be having with the board on the 18th and 19th. So I will send out a calendar invite and work with the clerk's office to see if we can set an hour to 2 hours to have a report from staff concerning the special preservation. I think there is also a possibility, and I'll get with staff about maybe getting a survey. A survey may be easier to come by that distinguishes the wetland areas that can assist in accommodating and provide an additional clarity. But I will meet with staff first thing in the morning and we'll start rolling on that.
Thank you. Ms. Miller Anderson?
And Madam Chair, if we can get all that information, then we can just put that into the docket. We can put this to rest and we can get this ordinance passed. It's just having as much supportive documentation as possible prior to approving it with the second reading.
Right. Ms. Miller Anderson?
Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome.
No, I don't have any comments. Thank you.
Ms. Lanier?
No, I'll save my comments and committee reports for our full council meeting next week.
Okay, thank you. Did I get the mayor? I did. I didn't want to forget you, Mayor. I just wanted to also congratulate staff on a wonderful, I have such great comments about the 4th of July fireworks. They were just fabulous. I wanted to let all of our constituents know that we'll be meeting on July 20th with representatives from the county and other municipalities to discuss derelict boats and liveaboards in the lagoon. If you want to sign up for the next round of Palm Beach State College courses being delivered in Riviera Beach, please email Sam Brown at stbrown@riverabeach.org and he can get you the information about those courses. Please complete the census. Mr. Lawson and I are in a competition and we do not want to wear the other towns and cities memorabilia, whatever you call it, stuff, t-shirts, whatever. We want to win this. So we ask you to please, it takes just a few minutes. It's very quick to do. It's completely confidential. It's by law and nobody can get that information. So it's confidential. It's easy to do. You can do it online. You can do it on your phone. You can call in and it will avoid having somebody come to your house. You don't want somebody to come to your house now. You want to do it online. It's much easier. Please, please. Also, please vote by mail. It's so easy. I've done it for years and years and years. And if you do it, you don't have to trek yourself out to the polls. It's just so much easier. So I think that, a reminder to council that we have a COVID-19 briefing at 6:30 tomorrow. Yes, Mr. Evans, 6:30 tomorrow, public briefing. Mr. Lawson?
Madam Chair, have we had an idea from Mr. Evans when we'll be actually going back into the chambers or meeting in the marina to do in-person comments, in-person meetings again?
I don't think we have
No,
heard.
the county hasn't stopped having in-person meetings, so.
We're looking at possibly our first meeting that we'll be doing in person. It's going to be the workshop setting that we have established, and then possibly looking to go back into a physical meetings, our first meetings in August.
Okay, so the workshop next week in person, and then potentially council meetings between the 5th or the 5th or the 12th. Okay.
Yeah.
What am I missing? Where's my agenda? So we've got everything. Does somebody care to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor? Have a good
Aye.
evening. Have a good evening.